Good evening, GSRC. My name's Lee Banks. Alongside me is Adam Lavis. Tonight, we'll be bringing you round 9 of the Supercars Championship, Super 2 and Super 3, followed by round 9 of the GT3 Championship, focusing on the AM split tonight. Both championships are in their penultimate round, and the title is all but decided in both championships, but that does not mean we've got some fantastic racing to bring you. There is, of course, still a live championship battle in the Super 2s with Greg Favell and Damien Cairns both in the running, and then a tight battle behind them for the final spot on the podium between Tim Nicole, Sean Hart and Stephen Varga. Track for tonight is Donington Park Racing Circuit. Rain not enabled on the supercars as of yet in iRacing, but we have perfect weather, 18 degrees C, 96% humidity, so if the rain was enabled, it would definitely be raining around now.
You said perfect weather just as it changed and the fog's coming.
34 kilometers an hour wind. That is going to make it tricky for the drivers here today, particularly where if it moves around a bit, moves from a headwind to a tailwind, you could see some drivers starting to get caught out. That is going to make it trickier, particularly for those drivers that drive a little bit less on feel and a little bit more on just knowing the track, knowing their braking points, knowing their turning points. They're going to have to vary those throughout the race as those conditions change if they want to stay on maximum pace tonight. So these are your standings, as I alluded to a few moments ago. We've got Greg Favell on top with Damien Cairns behind him. Only 34 points between them. That's easily makeable within 2 rounds. Bit of a gap from them to Tim Nicole in third, but he has got a tight chasing pack behind him of Sean Hart and Stephen Vargas. So that's a 3-man battle for the final stop on the podium. Can't quite see any of them making it up to Damien Cairns unless he has an absolute shocker, which of course is possible. This is motor racing. You never know what's going to happen. Behind them we have Alan Geel, Michael Hammond, Michael Frazier, Lorne Mackay, Will Buchanan and Leif McClemont, all very, very close in that top 10, and then a few stragglers on to the top 10, such as a well-known club personality, Nick Fodiadis, who's trying to crack in there. This is your field for tonight. We've got Greg Favell on pole, Damien Cairns alongside him. That's exactly what we want to see. The 2 contenders for the title side by side. Behind them is Sean Hart and Mikey Hammond. Mikey Hammond, one of the most aggressive races in the GSRC. Great to see him there. I wonder if he'll chuck one up the middle of the 2 guys in front of him. Heading into one, we won't have long to wait because the lights are on. They're off, and Michael Hammond already jumping up into 3rd place. Looks like 4th place got a really bad start there, and it's just falling down. That's Sean Hart falling down behind Mikey Hammond, but manages to stem the bleeding thanks to a fairly short run into turn 1. Damien Cairns now in first. Got Greg Favell and Mikey Hammond alongside each other into turn 2. The approach, turn 3, really tricky section of track there, as beautifully illustrated by Greg Favell as he goes off the track. Behind them, cars going 2 by 2 at the back end of the top 10. Damien Cairns getting a brilliant race start, and the start he needed to try and hold Greg Favell off, while Greg Favell comes under pressure from Mikey Hammond. Hammond had a bit of a look there, decides to stay in line. Oh! Greg Favell going really slow, must have got a slowdown penalty. That'll be for cutting the corner a few turns to go, so that's let Mikey Hammond and Sean Hart get past. Sean Hart goes in second because Mikey Hammond got checked up by Greg Favell as he came out of the throttle off the corner, and Mikey Hammond not on the racing line, staying behind him, trying to get at the slipstream. What that's done is give Damien Cairns a 1.8 second lead early on as we watch the cars go side by side into the chicane. This is going to be one of the spots on the track to watch tonight. Lots of drama is going to unfold there, I almost guarantee it. For those who are not familiar with the race format, it is a 25-minute race. We're 1 minute 22 seconds into that currently, so you're going to see a fair few laps, probably around 15 laps if I had to take a guess, and that is plenty of racing in this category. We are now watching Damien Cairns out front, absolutely serene, 2.2 seconds ahead of Sean Hart, who's got a little bit of a buffer to Mikey Hammond. Nothing huge in F1 racing. We'd be getting very, very excited about a gap this small, but this is an F1, this is supercars, and we expect the cars to be a lot tighter. So we're just getting a replay of what happened here with Mikey Hammond. And so there's a bit of contact there, and that's why Greg Favell goes off track, and then Greg Favell, I assume, gets to slow down So he's going to pull to the inside soon, and then you can see Mikey Hammond get checked up behind him. So it'd be interesting to see what the stewards make of that. But it's harsh on. It's harsh because, well, what can you do if iRacing gives you a penalty? And there's nothing you can really do about that from race control a lot of the time. So Greg Val just serving that straight away. But now we just wait to see if Mikey Hammond gets any. Oh, I think we'll get away with that. I think that'll go down as a lap 1 incident, but I don't want to speak for race control, and I'll just take some time now to thank race control for the work they do for the GSRC. They are absolutely brilliant. I think there was a bit of a struggle early on in the season, a bit more comms than we would like to be able to back chat to race control, but that has quietened down, I believe, and that's Alan Geel just going off track, having a bit of a spin. What they really want to do with their big braking zone, lots of time to be gained or lost, so the driver is going to be pushing the limits there. This is David Christensen. He's on the inside, going around the outside with Sam Stride. So this is a battle in the open split. Sam Stride currently in, I believe, 3rd in that split. Shame about the Super 3. You look at the championship, and there's not too many cars that have done the full lot of rounds, which makes the championship really hard to read. But it's good that we do give the more casual drivers something to aim for, rather than expecting them to compete with guys who are doing week in, and be competitive. Sean Hart just falling down the order there, fell from 2nd to 4th, so he's made a mistake in this lap. That's David Christensen around the outside of Chris Stark. And now looking to make it 3 wide. Oh, that's, yeah, 3 wide usually doesn't go very well. And didn't go very well there. Looks like Wayne Visser, the car on the inside there. Oh, and that will be a penalty for not respecting yellow flags, I imagine, given the hefty size of that shunt. Although, I do think that car is absolutely rooted. Won't be going anywhere. So Wayne Visser here, going up the inside, goes through a big line. Tell you what, it did get a fair bit alongside. It wasn't the crazy move I thought it was. When I originally saw that, and Tristan Coach blindsided, so 2 cars ahead of them, they're battling. They managed to shuffle it in, but Tristan Coach, seeing him late, it'll be interesting to see what race control make of that incident. But Tristan Coach's car not looking very healthy, so I think that is self-penalising. And I'll draw breath. Mikey Hammond in 2nd place. Jaden Green in 3rd for Locked Up Sim Sports. The 2 of them easily dropped by Damien Cairns, who's having an absolute blind over race so far and doing everything he needs to close in that gap on Greg Favell. Championship. Greg Favell update, he's currently in 14th, so he's lost 13 spots in that melee, currently putting a lot of pressure on David Christensen, who we saw almost getting tangled up in that incident just before. So it'll be interesting to see what progress Greg Favell can make from there, where he's already 17 seconds off the lead and 5 seconds away from the top 10. So this is Sean Hart. Let's see what happens here. He's got Mikey Hammond right behind him.
Slow down again.
Slow down again. So where was we getting that slowdown, do you reckon?
The old hairpin, most likely. He probably just cutting too much of the old hairpin.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Makes a lot of sense. Again, it's one of those corners you cut it. You can effectively widen the corner and gain it all the time. Really reduce that minimum speed through the corner, and that will pay you back. So they have to be harsh on slowdowns for anybody that is just cutting that. But as a driver, you can't play it too safe because you're just giving far too much time. Bit of chat in the comments about moving under braking, which is interesting to hear. Haven't seen anything on the stream so far, but definitely doesn't mean it's not happening because we can only see 1 or 2 cars at a time. Usually, particularly once they start to spread out. Not that this field is particularly spread out. Case in point, 7th down to 12th, there isn't a single gap above 1 second. And literally, as I say that, one of the gaps goes above 1 second, making me a liar. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, everybody. So 6 minutes in, 1/5 of the way in on lap 5. So we'll get somewhere between 20 and 25 laps. Currently 1 minute 28.5, the fastest official lap of the session. And I won't do the Zachy later because I'm not Zach, and where he is, hopefully he's having a good time tonight. I know he hates to miss missing Monday night's action at the GSRC. So whatever he's doing, I'm sure it's well worthwhile. Nick Fodiadis just moving up into 11th place, getting past Brandon Griffiths. Nick Fodiadis on the edge of the top 10 like he is in the point standings. And next on his kill list will be Joe Baldwin, and that's Brandon Griffiths just getting the run on the exit to happen, putting in a bit too much throttle, or torque demand as I like to call it in F1, and setting himself into the grass on the inside. For those of you that haven't driven these cars, it's hard to emphasize just how easy that is to do. Nothing to help you out, no traction control, nothing to stop you making a mistake, and you've got a lot of power under that right foot, and you've got a big, heavy car. It feels cumbersome in the slow corners. It really makes you just want to get on the throttle that bit earlier, that bit sooner, to make the car feel a bit more nimble. You feel like you're losing time, but you just gotta. It's really hard to battle that instinct to try and go foot to floor just a little bit too quick, and go for a spin, particularly when you've just been overtaken like Griffiths had. It's one of the things the very best drivers are very good at. They don't let themselves get sucked into the moment.
So Greg is still pinned back outside the top 10 after that little door-to-door contact and slowdown. So it's going to be a bit of a tough slog for him to get back into the good points here. And Damien, this could be a good night for Damien to reel some points in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been handed a fantastic opportunity, because not only is Greg Verval down the pack, but because of the manner in which it happened, it gave him a buffer straight away, managed to break the slipstream. And he knows he's one of the two fastest drivers in this series, so he doesn't need any help to be able to pull away at the front, but getting at the slipstream is an assistance. It's one of those things, when you are front, your race becomes easier. You can manage your tyre pressure easier. You've got no one making the corner blind. You've got no one that you're having to guess where they're going to be braking, so you can go just race your lines almost like a qualifying session, and it just makes everything so much simpler when you are out front. That's why you often see cars get to the front and then pull away. Often when they're not, it's actually a sign that they're not the fastest car, and that one of the cars behind them is, because they've got the bonus of that clean air, no distractions, and they still are unable to pull away. This is Mikey Hammond. He's got Jaden Green behind him. So Mikey Hammond's got plenty of clean air in front of him, 4.8 seconds to get into, but he's not able to pull away from Jaden Green, so that gives me an indication that Jaden Green and Sean Hart's also within a second. Oh, how? Just a little bit faster on raw pace, but not fast enough to have an overtake delta. Overtake delta being the amount of time we need per lap to be faster to be able to effect an overtake on the car ahead. On average, obviously, driver skill comes into that. How good is the guy ahead at defending? How good are you at attacking? That all plays a role, but as motorsport is a very data-driven discipline, that's what they talk about. They talk about an overtaking delta, which is the amount of time on average you need to be able to effect an overtake. And this is Sean Hart diving into the pits. So why will he be doing that, Adam?
Because they all got to do a bit stop during the race. All need a little bit of fuel to get to the end.
Absolutely. So he'll be doing that because he wants to get into clean air. He's hopefully spotted a bit of a gap a little bit further down, decided he's going to pit first, try and go for the undercut, which is when you go into the pits, you get out in clean air, you put in a fast lap faster than Jaden Green and Mikey Hammond are able to, and when they pit, you get the position on track. Hello to Ryan Shaw and Bob Culbreath, who are both watching. Great to have you with us, and for anybody else watching, thank you very much for tuning into the stream. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to bring you some fantastic racing, starting, as you can see, with the Player 1 Sim Gear Super 2 V8 Challenge, and then moving on to the Waste Options GT3 Amateur Championship, which will be very, very entertaining. If you haven't watched the amateurs before, I suggest you hang around, because they do things a bit differently to a pro split. And you know what? Credit where it's due, sometimes they're a lot cleaner than the pro split, and sometimes it's chaos. You never know what you're going to get. Stay tuned in to find out. What you're going to get now is Mikey Hammond and Jaden Green going side by side. Jaden Green goes a bit deep. He's on the outside. Not sure there's a tiny bit of door contact there, but Mikey Hammond getting his braking right, sticking to the relatively to the inside of the corner and keeping the position.
And just a bit of PSA/troubleshooting for the guys watching. I've done a lot of changes to my setup. So If there's any weird sound or anything, the sound's not quite right, the levels aren't right, or if you're hearing the game chat, what you shouldn't be hearing the game chat, just let us know so I can fix stuff later. Thank you.
Yes, and just making some improvements to the setup for all of our streams, not just for tonight. And of course, there might be a couple of teething issues, so if you do spot anything, please do give us some feedback. Likewise, as always, if you do have any general feedback for the streams, not just technical issues, but ways you think they could be improved, things you'd like to see, then please do get in contact with us if you'd like to see more or less interviews, if you'd like to see a change to the layout of our graphics, if you'd like to see more or less streams. Just get in contact. We are all ears. It is a community-run club. We do this for you guys. The streams are for you, so help us make them what you want them to be. But I have to say, I think Adam's been doing this for a long time, and I think he does an absolutely bloody brilliant job. As does Zach, as does Daniel, as does everybody else in the commentary and the streaming side of the GSRC.
We're doing the AM split this week, Corey, and we're doing the pro split for next week for the final.
Yes, that's
Ooh,
of course
look
the
up.
GT3s a little bit later tonight. Expect those to be starting in about 45 minutes from now. Should be an absolute cracker race. GT3s always are, particularly the AM split.
Leadery.
I believe tonight we are going to be live from Hockenhiem, which is a bloody brilliant track. So it promises to be a So even if you were planning to watch the pro split, I recommend tuning for the amateur, although I suspect Corey will be racing. Hopefully he's racing and not watching. So if you are racing, Corey, you should watch it afterwards. Yes, Kurt, please do put on a good show. Any overtakes would be much appreciated. So get stuck in tonight, fellas. Amateurs don't get on the screen as much as we'd like. Obviously, in ideal would, we'd love to be able to show both all the time, but obviously pros do take precedence. So the last few rounds we have been showing the pro and the amateur split doing one race of each. But in general, when there is only one race, we do go to pros. But tonight, we're showing you the amateurs as the last chance before round 10. This is we're on board with Nick Fodiardis, who's currently in third place in Super 2. Of course, the field has not been cleansed. A bunch of drivers yet to pit. Nick Fodiardis, actually the last of the drivers to pit. Oh, did you see how out of shape that car got? That front end was squirming all over the place. I was expecting to see it spat onto the grass, or spat to the wall on the inside. Nick Fodiardis manages to handle it, bring that beast under control, and keep it in a straight line without losing position. That was a brilliant bit of just pure out-and-out skill for Nick Fodiardis to keep that thing from ending his race. We're going to go around for another lap. So I think you'll see these three drivers. They're going to run until the tank is absolutely dry. Then they're going to pit. So there's sort of two ways of thinking around this. Often you'll get drivers that pit early because as soon as they see a gap, they want to get into it. They want to get into clean air because they feel like they're being held up. The guys that don't feel like they're being held up, the guys that feel like they're in a good rhythm, even if they do have a car in front of them, they'd rather be ahead, but they know they're drivers that they don't like to be interrupted. They like to get into a zone. They will keep going. They will go into the tank runs dry and pit at the last possible moment. Just to try not to interrupt the race, and then they'll just get through the last 3 laps until the end. This is Joe Baldwin, another one of the stalwarts of the club. He's not far away, I imagine, in terms of actual track position from other club stalwart. Nick Fodiardis, who's currently in the lead of the race, but is yet to stop. Joe Baldwin has stopped, and he's in 13th. Locking the brakes there. No anti-lock braking on this car, so very, very easy to do. Particularly, I mentioned that wind at the start, 35 kilometers an hour. If that is shifting around a bit, if those wind levels have dropped, then you are going to see cars lock the wheels. For instance, imagine they're going into a headwind, 35 kilometers an hour. Imagine that pushing against you when you're walking. That's pushing against these cars. The car's a lot bigger than a human, so they're going to be feeling that push a lot more. So under braking, it's really helping them slow the car down. If that then changes, becomes a tailwind, or even if it just reduces in power, all of a sudden they don't have that force helping them to brake, and you're going to be braking at the same point. You're going to find you're going to have to brake harder to get the same level of retardation, the same level of slowing down, deceleration. and then you're going to lock your brakes because you're going to be so much closer to the edge or beyond the edge, which what we've seen a few of these drivers do. Could also be tyre temperatures playing a bit of havoc with some of these cars, as we watch Chris Stark getting it wrong into the hairpin. Look to me, see how it really pendulumed out? That to me indicated that perhaps he was trailing the brakes a little bit too hard, had too much of the weight forward in the car, not enough weight on those rear tyres, pushing them into the road, giving him grip, so that he tries to turn in. Rear tyres say, hey, I don't have the grip for this. They spin round on top of the surface, and you end up in a spin like that. Very, very easy to do, and I say that particularly because we've just seen people getting it wrong with the brakes. So if he's had to stay on the brakes for a bit longer to try and get the same level of deceleration, that could explain that.
Just to answer Greg's question, I think it's obviously an in or out lap problem for Jaden. Their stops were pretty much identical, only 3/10 between the stop and 4/10 between transit. So definitely lost his time somewhere else in that phase. As you can see on the timing tower there, you got the stop time on the left, and then your transit time on the right there.
So yeah, as we can see, not too many huge differences, but a few outliers there. Buchanan stopped for 13.9 seconds. Total pit time of 36.3. A lot of them 10 or 11 seconds. A few under 10, and a few longer. Those cars were that longer. It could be where they didn't quite hit the mark and they had to chuck the car into reverse a little bit, or they're only barely on the mark, so that leads to a slower stop. In terms of the total pit time, because you've got the pit entry and exit in that. So if you really attack the entry, if you're confident, if you've practiced it, you're going to make time there. It's something that Matty Dench is renowned for, always trying to optimise his entry and exit, sometimes getting himself a penalty when he goes too hard on that, particularly when he's not in the pit box he expects to be in, which of course, being Matty Dench, is the last pit box that reserved for the driver on pole position. So now we've got Adam Proctor. He's under a lot of pressure from Greg Ravel, who's basically pushing him around the track. So let's just catch on where Greg Ravel is. He's in 8th place, so he's recorded a few more spots from where he was before. Pitted on lap 7, so he was one of those drivers that pitted really quite early and got himself into clean air. And he's made it work for himself, put in some really good lap times in the last few laps. Got himself into the top 10. He's going to struggle to get past Proctor though. Proctor, someone that we see racing a lot of different vehicles in the GSRC. He's got very, very good car control, knows how to handle the car in battle. But Greg Ravel so much faster through the chicane, and I don't think Proctor will battle this one too hard, and Greg Ravel goes ahead up into 7th place. Next on the list for him is Will Buchanan. But it's got quite a gap to Will Buchanan. 5.6 seconds and only 5 minutes to catch that up. That's only going to be 3 laps worth of chasing, so I think 7th might be as far as Greg Ravel goes, but let's see what he can do with a bit of clean air. Maybe, just maybe, he can pull him in and we'll get a nice battle going into the final corner. We've cut now to Sam Stride. He's in 13th overall, 2nd in the Super Free split behind Aaron Bryan, who's 10th overall and leading the Super Free split. But Sam Stride looking to turn that into 12th, just turning that into 12, sorry, he's in 13th. Just behind him is Nick Ferdiadis in 14th, so watching Nick Ferdiadis trying to put pressure on Sam Stride. Apologies, I thought it was the other way around. You're right, Greg, it was beautiful. You could see the amount of time he gained, and it really highlights, like, it doesn't look that different, right? You look at them, they both come out from wide on the entry, both trying straight lining it, both trying to straight line the chicane, but one of the drivers just carrying so much more speed when he does it because he perfects the line. He's got the line within a smaller tolerance, and that means he knows he can carry more speed. And you saw the amount of time he gained. It was easily half a second at least, probably a second by the time they got to the chicane. And it is small margins. If you look at a lot of these drivers and you watch them separately, say you had 5 minutes in between each one, you'd struggle to pick out many differences, even between the very best and some of the slower drivers in the field. But you put them together side by side and you just pick up on all these things, and all these things add up to be a huge amount of lap time. If you're gaining half a second in every corner, that's seconds across a lap. Seconds. And half a second in any one corner isn't much of a when you think about half a second, you can barely click your finger in that time. So, just shows you how tight the margins are.
This damn fog's getting thicker too.
It is getting thicker. It is. I keep wondering whether it's my screen or not, but it is the fog. Really interesting conditions here. Of course, the rain isn't enabled, but with this temper system, it wasn't just rain. It was fog. It was all sorts of atmospheric conditions. So even the cars that don't have rain, they can have fog. And we're seeing that here with the lights coming on, the fog descending on Donington Circuit.
I think heavy fog's turned off, so there could have been worse.
It certainly could have been worse. It's been very interesting.
Oh, Jaden! That is ambitious.
Ambitious. But he might make it work because they are side by side now. Although he is on the outside, that's going to be hard. So Sean Hart should hold on to position there. He'll maneuver the car out to the outside just to make sure that Jaden Green can't get a run of him. But Jaden Green's got a beautiful slipstream going down the start-finish straight. Takes a bit of a narrower line, just leaving his options open under braking. Oh, it's contact! Bump and run from Jaden Green now. I think if he's smart, he'll give back that position. I say smart, cautious. If he's thinking cautiously, I think he should probably give that back, redress it, and then try and get past again. Though we'll see a replay. I might change my mind. Comes quite far back, goes quite late. Yeah, don't think you can say he's entitled to space there. I do think the smart thing would be to redress. Looks like he's not done that though. He's continued on, so he'll be backing himself to make up whatever time will be lost in the penalty, but there's only 1.5 minutes to do so. So that is a big call from Jaden Green. That was Buchanan just going off track there, and that's really going to help Greg Favel. We called out earlier, Greg Favel being 5.6 seconds behind. Wondering if he can make it up. Now it's down to a second, and Favel will be smelling blood in the water, and like a great white shark is going to be coming from behind Will Buchanan, probably to snap the jaws of defeat and relegate him to seventh place.
It's a very wild ride across the track there.
Yeah, it was. I'm really interested to see actually with the rain how it affects the off-track handling, because I imagine it's going to make the grass act a lot more like last year's update grass, where it was just.
Oh yeah, if it's raining on the grass, it's just you just keep going.
Which means you not only have to drive more.
It's not just rain; it's also if there's dew in the air.
Oh.
Because if the grass is dewy, it also acts like it's moist.
iRacing, I bow down to your commitment to realism. That's the best thing I've heard about the temper system. Even the dew affects the way the grass behaves. Absolutely brilliant. And look at Greg Favel taking all sorts of funny lines behind Will Buchanan, trying to make sure he doesn't accidentally tap the back of him. This is a driver, he hasn't sat behind him yet this race. He knows he's come up quickly, so he knows he's a lot faster. And he doesn't know where Will Buchanan's going to be fast and where he's going to be slow. So he's got to be a bit cautious behind him. Because the last thing he wants to do is tap him and ruin this recovery. This recovery could be absolutely essential for his title push. So he's got to be cautious, but he's got to try and find a way past, because every point is going to be absolutely crucial. And here he is diving down the outside, trying to open up that chicane more. We saw how good it was for the chicane earlier on. And Will Buchanan immediately going defensive, trying to cover the inside into the next hairpin as we watch Damien Cairns take an absolutely dominant victory. 3.5 seconds ahead of Mikey Hammond, who's going to bring it home in second place. Brilliant race by him. Jaden Green in third. I wonder whether he'll keep hold of that. Sean Hart across the line in fourth, with Stephen Varga not far behind. But will it be Will Buchanan, or will it be Greg Favel in sixth? Looks like Will Buchanan's got it done. Great defending on the final lap to hold a much faster car behind him. Greg Favel recovers to 7th place after earlier travails. Of course, that included Mikey Hammond to contact there. So race control, a lot of work for them to do tonight before we know what the final order is going to be. Huge celebratory burnouts there from Damien Cairns, and why not? He's driven an absolutely brilliant race. When he imagined this race in his head before he hopped into his sim rig tonight, he would have been thinking, I'm going to take the lead in lap 1, I'm not going to look backwards, and hopefully something happens to Greg Favel, which means I'm well and truly a title hunt going into the final round. That is exactly what's happened, so tune in to the Super 2 broadcast next week to find out who's going to win between two of them, because it is bloody close. I promise you, that is going to go down to the wire next week, and they will be racing at Phillip Island of all tracks. What a finale. We've got a few drivers coming into the commentary box now. First of them is Chris Stark. Chris, how are you going?
Oh, I killed the server at the start. Sorry, Adam. Got a good start off in the race there, but yeah, I've got a good start. I've been on holiday, so out of the seat for a while. It didn't end well.
It didn't end well. What happened? How did you end up 47 seconds behind?
My pit stop. I didn't realise my pit brake was the first brake, so I jammed the brakes, had to reverse up, and then I left it in reverse when you dropped the car.
No. So then you try to pull away and reverse more.
Went the wrong way.
Oh, that's absolutely. Oh, that makes me feel better about some of the things I've done in pit lane. Oh, thank you for that.
I should have come out with Nick and Joe and Dave, but yeah, the pit stop took care of that.
I'm just trying to imagine seeing that in actual supercars now. They drop they drop Brock Kelly or someone down after Jackson just in reverse. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Well, I got a blighter of a start. I made up a heap of spots, but then yeah, sort of everyone was in the same place.
I say that doesn't surprise me. I've seen you racing. I think Formula V is what I've seen you racing the most, and you definitely put a few moves on in there. So not surprised to see you doing the same in supercars. Where do you think you could have finished had you had a cleaner race?
I probably would have been around Nick and Joe. Had a bit of a bump with Nick. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's trying to save fuel. Not sure. But I tapped him a couple of times. Apologised, sat back, and then got him at the first hairpin. And then that's when 2 laps later went for the pit and it all went down the toilet. And
I think I can confirm for you that I believe he was saving fuel because he was one of the cars that went longest. He went to lap 11. So he went a few laps longer than most. He
seemed to slow his pace right off, so I figured that's what he was doing, but I just bumped into him in the hairpins.
Yeah, easy to do when the car is fuel saving. You don't know what they're doing, and you're trying to just maximise how close you are behind them.
Yeah, I made up random, so I knew he was doing something to save fuel, but that's Nick, he does that. I should have expected it, so my apologies, Nick.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when you get behind someone and just similar pace, but you make it in different ways, and you're just like, wow, through that corner, I'm pushing them around, I can barely stop myself and hit them, and then the other corners you're like, what, wait, how, what? Where did they get that time from?
Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? You're sort of sitting behind someone and you go, oh, lock the brake, and then the next corner, they're pulling out and you're still braking, you go, huh?
Yeah, the worst thing is that first couple of laps where you do something like that, like you get really close, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to like leave them a bit of space because these guys just do not know how to brake. And then next corner, your half-second gap you're leaving deliberately becomes 2 seconds. You're like, wait, what?
I imagine there's going to be some conversation. I don't know what happened at the start. I'm sure Joe and I will go and have a look at it in Woodsy. It's a little bit of argy-bargy and a bit of swearing, so we'll sort out what happened there.
We'll be having a look for sure.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact in the opening laps. Not too much contact after that. Everyone was pretty well behaved from what we saw in the broadcast. But yeah, certainly the first lap there was a lot of cars going 2 or 3 wide. Which
I just looked at the replay. Good luck, boys. I'm going to jump out of the the commentary. But when you have a look, Joe, you won't be surprised.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Chris. Best
All
of
right,
luck
guys.
with racing this week.
Thanks, man.
We'll head on now to El Presidente, Joe Baldwin. Haven't spoken to you in a while, Joe. How you going?
I'm good, thanks, Liam, mate. Good to hear your voice. We haven't crossed paths, I think, since maybe the end of last year in one of the V's. So it's good to catch up with you, mate.
And how was your race? Finished in the top 10. You happy with that?
Yeah, look, it's a great lesson on being patient this track, and unfortunately, I had it I say unfortunately, but I had a really good start, and I'm not used to racing with some of the guys I was racing with, and I was sort of hanging with them, but I started getting impatient, and Damien, I'm sure he'll say the same thing, that with the supercars, especially at Donington, you can't rush anything. You've got to be so smooth and deliberate with your inputs, or you start turning the tyres, you get the tyres hot and whatnot. And I hurried up with the throttle at turn 1 and just got half sideways and just not enough steering lock in these cars to catch them. So that put me on the back foot. I think I dropped back down about 11th or 12th or somewhere and end up battling good towards the end. But after the pit stop, I did the same thing. I rushed and trying to stay in front and catch up and whatever. And I got the tyres hot, ended up sort of backing it off for a couple of laps, and the tyres came back to me. I did my fastest lap and managed to pass a couple of guys here on the last 2 laps to get me to the top 10. So it's a learning phase now that I'm up with the faster guys. So yeah, it was definitely fun.
I mean, great to hear that you're up with the faster guys. That's absolutely fantastic. Is that a position you think you can get to more often next season?
No.
No?
no, I'm not that. Look, I do a lot of driving, but in different cars. I'm no good in one particular car, or I just spread myself thin across. Yeah, I like racing anything. I'll race the shopping trolley, I don't care, but I don't, if I focused on just a supercar, I'm sure I'd end up a lot faster. Same as back a few years ago, in officials, I was big into the Skippy scene, and I was running with a lot of the real fast guys there, but put me in anything else, I was no good. So it's it's fun though. I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Oh, I used to love the Skippies. That was where I started in iRacing,
yes,
pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, great cars. Well, wonderful to hear your voice. Best of luck for the rest of your racing this week. I'm sure we'll see you most nights of the week, because you always seem to be on. And hopefully I'll speak to you again soon.
Definitely. Thanks, Liam.
Oh, awesome. Right, so we'll move from El Presidente, and we'll move on to our 2 winners from tonight. We will go to Damien Cairns first, winner of the Super 2 split, because he was first to the booth and first in, first out. So, Damien, that must have been pretty close to the dream race you had in your head before you started tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever you can get out in front and keep it out in front, it's always, a dream. You can drive your own race. You're not worrying about what other people are doing. It was great fun.
And is that a position that you feel, it sounds like you feel really comfortable with being out in the lead? Would you have felt the same if you had a car behind you trying to hassle you?
No, that would have made it 10 times worse. So I was making sure that I was keeping a gap between the guys coming behind, and I didn't need any pressure, because around here it doesn't take much to put a wheel off, put your brakes down too much, get on the accelerator too early, and you're off the track and all kinds of stuff. So yes, no, it was good to just get out there and go to drive your own race. It's unlucky for Greg, got tangled up in the first lap, I think. That sort of just opened it up for me then, and they were obviously battling behind me, which gave me a bit of a buffer, and just held it, and it was good fun.
Yeah, when you realised you had that I think after sort of 3 or 4 laps, it was out to, well over 3 seconds, better part of 5 seconds. Do you take your foot off the accelerator a bit? Do you keep pushing flat out? Do you go to a comfortable 98% that you've sort of practiced, or what do you do in that situation? Because it must feel silly to sort of keep going as fast as you can, but some drivers, they stop going as fast as they can and they lose their rhythm. So I'm just interested in what you do in that scenario.
Yeah, so what normally if you had someone behind you or you're chasing someone, you're at 100%. So I'd probably go back to about 95, just loop those brake markers just a little bit earlier than normal, so that way I know I'm going to get into the corner and just try and drive out nicely. And so you do change in your mindset, because if you're pushing 100%, you've always got a chance of making a mistake. If you push a little bit less, you've got that little bit more to be able to catch it, and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the smart thing to do. You gotta adjust a little bit. Like you said, you just want to take out that bit of risk. That's always there for even the very best drivers when they are pushing flat out. I mean, just look at Charles Leclerc, and but also keep it close enough to what you normally do, so it doesn't feel alien. Seems to be
that's right. Yeah, you've got to find a nice happy medium to just keep punching out the same lap times and just keep a nice rhythm. And once you get into a nice rhythm, it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and of course this result's going to really tighten up that battle at the front of the championship. What are you going to do before the final round next week at Phillip Island to give yourself the best shot of taking that championship away from Greg Favel?
I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. If he has a good day, he's really hard to beat. So we'll do a bit of practice this week on the weekend, and hopefully when we come out, we'll see how we go, and hopefully at least push him to get to the end.
Oh, I'm sure you'll at the very least push him. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, mate. Hopefully, no matter what happens, it's a good, fair battle, and you both get a fair crack at the whip without one of you suffering some sort of unfortunate accident on lap 1. So, like tonight. Thank you very much for joining us in the booth. I'll talk to you again soon. Best of luck for next week.
No worries. Thanks, mate. All the best.
And we'll move over to our final driver in the booth for tonight, Aaron Bryan, winner of the Open Split. Talk us through your race.
Well, g'day, mate. How you going? Got a really good start off this time, and I think I jumped about 3 or 4 off the start, which is always good. Sam Stride, he's been pretty good in qualifying recently, and it was he's one of the guys that I've got to try and keep in front of, and I've managed to jump him at the start. So from there on, it was just trying to keep it on the black stuff.
And you're in an interesting position because you're in the lead of the Super 3 Championship. You get to the front, you know you're in the lead of the Super 3 race, but unlike Damien, you're not out in clean air. You're still battling with cars around you, but they're not in your race. I was watching you on the time screens. You were largely surrounded by pro cars for most of the race. So, how much are you aware of that and trying to beat them, just get the best overall result, versus thinking, actually, I'm effectively in the lead. They're effectively in a different class. I shouldn't fight these guys too hard. I just need to make sure I keep up the black stuff and win the Super 3 race.
Yeah, that's 100% right. I know that when these guys are around me, that I don't want to ruin their race because they're racing for position whilst they're around me. But a couple of times there, I had a slow down. There was one that was pretty big slow down going into turn 1, and I saw Trucker and Mr. Christensen, I think, was behind me, and I just couldn't get rid of that slowdown time. So eventually they caught up with me, and there was no point in me battling those guys, so I just let them pass. I like to try and see if I can keep up to, sort of P10 in these races, but had to give up those 2 just to watch those guys battle it out to the fag.
So, will that be the goal for next season? Get into the pro split and see if you can trouble the top 10?
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can get my times up around where it'll put me in the Super 2s, and if I can sort of aim for top 10, I'll be happy. I'm still learning these guys. They're pretty quick up the top there, aren't they?
They are very, very quick. We've got some really good races in the GSRC, not just in Super 2. I mean, Greg Favale, he's a club stalwart and someone that we see always at the top, no matter what car he's in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many fast drivers here.
Yeah, and Greg's really good with sharing some of the setups and allowing us to race what he's racing. So it's always a good measure to see how we're going, and clearly we've got a little bit to catch up.
A little bit, but not too much. I think you can be pretty proud of close you're getting. Certainly troubling that top 10 for much of the race, and I suspect there'll be rounds where you are in that top 10 in the pro split, not just not in the effectively the amateur split. So you go good about do you race any other cars, or do you main the supercars?
Look, I do like the supercars, but I do sort of dip my toe in a few others, some of the open wheelers and things like that. So I don't mind doing the odd NASCAR race every now and then as well, turning left a lot. That's not too bad.
They're good fun, the NASCAR races when you get into a good one. Sadly, quite a few horrible ones around the road.
Probably more horrible ones than good ones, but when a good one comes off, it's always nice.
I was gonna say the ones I'm in tend to be horrible. I'm not saying there's a correlation there. I'm just stating facts. Yeah, excellent to hear that you're driving a few more cars, not just supercars. So where else can we see you in the GSRC?
Well, at the moment it's just this one. Work commitments sort of don't allow me to do too much more than this one. This is really what I do like to do. So, if I'm able to change my work times to be able to do this is where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, excellent. Well, great to hear that you're having fun. Great to hear that you're kicking goals and getting towards the pace where you want to be. And best of luck for the final round of the next season.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks very much. Take it easy.
Thank you very much. So we've spoken to the drivers, and we'll be heading over to the GT3s very, very soon. We'll give a quick thank you to Player One Sim Gear for bringing you and giving us the opportunity to stream the Super 2s and Super 3s are absolutely brilliant fun to race and brilliant fun to broadcast. Of course, they're not our only sponsors. We've got a bunch more sponsors that are across the top of your screen right now. Player One Sim Gear, of course, we just mentioned, Limsy Racing, M-Wave, Flash Graphics, Waste Options, who support the GT3s that you'll see this afternoon, and a few more across the top. I'll call them out when we can see them again. And this is your updated championship standing. So only 13 points going into the final round. Greg Pavel ahead of Damien Cairns. That is a live championship. Whoever wins that race has got a good shot of taking home the championship. Of course, if Greg Pavel wins it, he'll definitely win. If Damien Cairns wins, he'll need a slight bit of misfortune for Greg Pavel. If Greg Pavel finishes in second place, I suspect he will still take out the championship. Behind them, really close battle of the podium. Tim Nicole's been dropped. He looks like he probably won't be a factor unless Sean Hart and Stephen Varga both have a bit of a mare of a race, which could happen. They're both fighting for the podium. They could crash into each other. You never know. But it seems to be Hart and Varga fighting for the last spot in the top 3. Going a bit further down the top 10, Jaden Green, the last man inside the top 10. He's got Will Buchanan and Michael Fraser within touching distance ahead of him. They're only 7 points ahead, so they cannot afford a bad round. And then behind him, he's got Leif McLeamont, only 12 points behind, and Nick Fodiadis within 18. So the two of them very much in the hunt for a top 10 spot in the championship. So those are your battles to watch out for going into the final round of the championship next week at Phillip Island. This is the Super 3. Aaron Bryan, who we just heard from, he's on 370 points. He's got an 85-point lead over James Boardman, absolutely crushing the competition. I think we can prematurely congratulate him on a championship. James Boardman is in second, and he's got that sewn up, so congratulations to James on second place, unless he perhaps has a DNF and Greg Spencer wins. I don't see those positions changing. Behind him is Greg Spencer. He's on 221 points. He's got Sam Stride right behind him. Only 11 points between the two of them. And then a further 13 back to Dimitri Kolbach. So all those drivers in the hunt for the podium. Greg Spencer and Sam Stride, of course, are the favourites. They'll be battling out tooth and nail in the final round at Phillip Island next week. Back to the bottom of the top 10. Pete Matson just clings on to the top 10, loses 2 positions, but still where he wants to be. But he's got Aidan Schultz breathing down his neck, Mark McNamara and Jordan Ferguson and Michael Ladder all in that conversation as well. So quite a few drivers looking to get into the top 10. And if you're Reece Dickinson or Peter Matson, you're looking very vulnerable there. They need a good round to finish off and solidify their spot in the top 10. So thank you very much for watching the first part of our broadcast. We'll now take a quick break and we'll be back with the GT3s live from Hockenhiem. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you joined us for a cracking Supercars round. If you didn't, what were you doing? Go back and watch that later on tonight. But do not leave this stream right now, because we're about to bring you the GT3 AM split live from Hockenhiem, and I promise you it's going to be a belter. This is an absolutely classic track, home to some really iconic scenes in motorsport history. And tonight we're going to make a little bit more history, only a small slice of history, not the most prestigious history that Hockenheim's ever had. We're going to add some here in the GSRC, because it's round 9 of the Amateur Championship, and championships could be decided here tonight. 18 degrees, 100% humidity. That explains the cloud you are seeing. Rain is enabled for this server. For those of you that have been living under a rock for the last few weeks, rain has been added to iRacing. It's all very exciting for those of us in the iRacing scene. It's caused a lot of debate over the years since we knew it was coming, like who wants it, who wouldn't, is it good, should we run it? Well, we're running it here tonight, and there is a chance of rain during the next hour of this race, and that could play havoc with people's strategies. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens tonight. I haven't commentated a race in the rain yet, and I'm very excited to do so at some point. Hopefully it's tonight, but maybe it won't be, and I'll have to pop that cherry a little bit later on. This is your championship standings. We have Scott Wooden on top of the championship with a healthy 58-point buffer over Daniel Piper. He'll be hoping to maintain or build that lead. Daniel Piper's in second place. He's only got 6 points ahead. He's only 6 points ahead of Adam Chiplin, who's only 5 points ahead of Philip Butler, who's only 12 ahead of Benjamin Lavender. So second place down is very much up for grabs, and there are a whole host of drivers. Pretty much everyone down to 8th place William Yarwood could finish second in this championship, but I think only the top 2 or 3 of those might challenge Scott Wooden, and they are going to be reliant on Scott Wooden having a DNF in this race or the next if they want to keep their title aspirations alive. And of course, with these points, you have to remember that drop rounds have been allocated, and that means that there's not as many points on offer as it looks. It's not just a case of the amount of points for a win or the amount of points on offer, because that would mean just because of the drop rounds, it tends to soften that blow, and you tend not to gain as many points now. So that 58-point lead is even bigger than it seems. So it really is going to need Scott Wooden probably to struggle across 2 races.
Well, if you look just to the left of the total points there, they don't have any drop points. Like Scott's got 1 drop point. So yes, they are fighting for with what they've got. That's what they do is what they get.
Yes, but we're 8 rounds in, so any points they earn, they'll only earn the amount over the lowest point scoring round, right? So if the lowest point scoring round is 20 and they earn 50 points, they'll effectively gain 30 points.
That's what I'm saying. The lowest, his lowest is a 1. So he's best. The lowest he can score, what Scott is scoring is a 1, and the lowest Daniel can score is a 0. So that they've got no drops on up their sleeve, whereas Chiplin and Butler do.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I get you now. So Scott Wooden and Daniel Piper, they really can't afford to have a bad race. They need to go well, but they will get all the points from this race that they get. Whereas Adam Chiplin and Piper, they've got a bit of breathing room before they start losing points, and but less to gain. So we've got William Yarwood on pole position, Perry and Starkis alongside him, Adam Chiplin and Matt Smitke on the second row, with Benjamin Lavender and Daniel Piper on the third. Jake Karlovsky and Brian Bullock are the fourth row, with Brian Bernice and Philip Butler running at the top 10. Francone and Hennessy on row 6, with Neil and Yvette behind them, then McDonald and Nominson, then Como and Futiadis, and then Baldwin and Campbell. Behind them, Paget and Johnson, Hugo and Coach, Thomas and McGrath, and then right at the is Michael Latta. Good thing for Michael Latta, he can't have a bad race from there. No matter what he does, he'll either finish where he started or he'll make places, which means he can go absolutely hell for leather and just see what he can achieve from all the way back in 27th place. Look at how healthy this grid is. We have 2 servers for the GT3s, the pros and the AMs and the amateurs are getting 27 cars. Absolutely brilliant turnout. Thank you all of the drivers that have come here tonight that have been competing for the last 8 rounds. This is round 9 of 10. We hope to see you all back next season in a few weeks time, but for now let's send this season off with a bang, starting here tonight and then continuing on.
Bobby's gone the wrong way to start.
Not something you see every day. Hopefully they can catch up the back of the pack before the lights go green. I'm just going to go ahead and say perhaps a little bit more practice required for those guys. Next week's Spa de Francorchamps though, so anybody going the wrong way at Spa, you've got no excuse. You should know the layoff off by heart because it is one of the holy pilgrimages of racing, and they are green flag racing now. William Yarwood getting a good start out front, Perrin Starkus in second place, Adam Chiplin, Daniel Piper making it a position, as has Brian Bullock, Lavender and Karlovsky, the victims there, as they go largely 2x2 through the first corner at Hockenhiem. And 3 wide back there, 3 wide further back again. Yet that never ends well. That's Philip Butler who's facing the wrong way at turn 2. Peranastakis, he's under putting a lot of pressure on William Yarwood. So Peranastakis' second car with the green wing, the BMW with the black wing is William Yarwood. William Yarwood starting from pole, Peranastakis on second place, looking to get the jump. Oh, and that's Matt Smitzky. He's been turned to corner 6. Well, I can't even pronounce that. Spitzkirch, it seems to be the the name of the corner, and yeah, what that's done is that's created the gap between Peranastakis and Chiplin of 1.4 seconds as they sort themselves out through there. Be interested to see what happened, but certainly like he got a tap to the rear and that sent him round. We're looking now at Joe Baldwin in his trademark black livery. He's on the fringes of the top 10 11th place. Frank Cohn stopping him getting into the top 10. The moment we're now looking at Kurt Nommensen. He's got Nick Ferdiadis putting him under a lot of pressure. Ferdiadis and Baldwin started next to each other on the grid, but Baldwin having a cracking start up 8 positions, Ferdiadis having a decent start up too, but not able to stay in the same league as Baldwin so far. So we'll see how that battle unfolds throughout the race as we stay with Kurt Nommensen now. He's well in the mid-pack, 15th out of 27 cars, could not be in more of a danger zone, but he does have a little bit of room space in front and behind him. Unlike some of the cars who are still battling pretty much side by side as we complete the first, what will be a fair few laps today. A whole 1 hour race. You'd expect to see the cars make 2 pit stops, potentially more if we do get some rain. I don't believe we have any graphics to indicate the weather radar, but I'm sure they'll come in due time, so we'll be just as surprised as you if rain does come today. But at the moment, it's just fog, and look how foggy it is, all the cars blurring their headlights. And this is Adam Chiplin. So Adam Chiplin's in 6th place. He started in 3rd, so he's not had the start he would have wished for going into today. He's got Chris McDonald putting him under a lot of pressure, and in turn, he's attempting to apply the screws to Jake Karlovsky, who's up 2 spots, starting himself in 5th for Cynical Simsports Liquid Moly. Behind Adam Chiplin, there's one hell of a train, as you can see with cars going side by side in the background. So this is Chiplin, behind him is McDonald, then Bullock. Then you got 1 second to James Francone. Then all within half a second are Bernays, Baldwin, Henderson, Neal, Ibet, Nommensen and Ferdiadis. So from 9th down to 16, there is not a gap bigger than half a second, give or take. And now James Francone is in within a second of Brian Bullock, so there is not a gap over a second from Karlovsky all the way down to Nick Ferdiadis in 16th. We'll make that 15th because Adam Hennessy has just pelted himself out of that group. No pro split tonight, Dave. Sorry, we won't be able to watch Matt do his normal thing. Instead, we'll be following the amateur split. The reason we're doing that is so that next week we can focus completely on the pro split, which is the final round, and you'll get to see Matty Dench more than likely wrap up his title in style. He's certainly not had it all his own way this series. Not as many wins as normal, definitely a bit more competition, a few different drivers get some wins, but no one able to mount a really solid championship challenge to Matt, whose ruthless consistency seems to have got him in a unassailable position at the top of that championship. This is Chris McDonald looking to send it down the inside of Adam Chiplin. in the quite distinctive side hustle racing with the black, blue, and purpley pink. I'm going to call it pink. Colour scheme that they've been running for a fair few seasons now. Adam Chiplin. Yeah, losing that position to Chris McDonald, so he evidently had a blinder in qualifying, was just struggling for race pace. Could also be that he is saving fuel compared to the cars around him. This is the amateur split. You're going to see less drivers saving fuel because generally the more comfortable you are as a driver, the more brain power you've got in reserve while driving, the more likely you are to think about your fuel and do some saving. But if you're someone like an Adam Chiplin's a very, very solid driver. I've seen him be competitive in GT3s before. If you can save yourself a pit stop, if you can buy yourself a heap of time in fuel, so you don't impact your overall race time, you instead improve it despite driving slower and more safely, why wouldn't you do it? So we're going to see a few cars doing that, but I would hazard against the less than we would in the Pro split. As we watch William Yarwood, he's still under pressure from Parry Anastakis. Parry unable to launch, shall we say, a true side-by-side move. He's looked threatening, he's pulled out in the braking zones, just trying to heap pressure on William Yarwood, certainly not letting William Yarwood get away, but yet to really do a move where it looks like it has a real chance of getting the overtake done. Whether that's tactical, or whether that's just that he doesn't quite have the pace to get past, we won't know unless we get to chat to Parry at the end of this race, or he finally manages to make a pass. And just want to call out Daniel Piper behind them, going really quick at the moment, gaining 4 tenths of a second on the previous lap. So that was Philip Butler. Going into the back of the car ahead and then getting it wrong on the entry, probably flummoxed from that contact and still trying to process and figure out what was going on, and then hitting the end of the next car up. This is Matt Smitke. I think they'll get away with that one. So Matt Smitke is on the inside, looks like he's got the move all but done, moves over to the outside, but the car on the outside still there. Doesn't get a spot out of it, and Matt Smitke almost seemed to turn himself. This will give us a better angle. So you can see Matt Smitke on the inside is well ahead. Oh no, yeah. Car behind will probably get done for that. Almost certainly should have just let gently off the throttle and tucked him behind Matt Smitke. In fact, could have been trying to do that and just misjudged it a little bit. Was only slight contact, and Smitke very, very unlucky to end up in the wall with what really was minor contact. Looking closer than he has for the last few laps, basically pushing William Yarwood around the track. Gets side by side, they're approaching a right-hander, so Parry Anastakis will be on the outside. He's got 2 options: to try and hang on around the outside, or does he break a little bit earlier and try to get the up and under? He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Really brave from Parry Anastakis, not going to get it done. Can he get a better run out the corner? He does look like he's got better traction out of the corner, but is it going to be enough to put him in a position to effect the overtake going into the next corner, which will be a 90-degree left-hander? So he's going to pull to the inside now, trying to make it work. No, not able to get alongside William Yarwood. Late enough on the brakes to defend from Parry Anastakis. Holds on to the lead, and what this battling has done is it's brought Daniel Piper right into the thick of it. We now have a three-way battle for the lead. Currently, all these cars are guaranteed more or less a podium. They're 4 seconds ahead of the car behind. Of course, a lot of pit strategy pay out, a lot of time to go, 52 minutes remaining in this race, but keep doing what they're doing and they're looking good. However, they're racing drivers. None of them is going to be satisfied with a podium. They all want to win. So let's see how that turns out over the next few laps. This is the battle pack down from 8th down to 14th position. This is Matt Smitke trying to recover. Takes a little bit too much curb there. Gets onto the big orange curb. That unsettles the car. Unloads the tyres. Sends him into a spin. And that's made his recovery all the tougher. Now I'm going to see what's happened to Jake Kolowski. Yeah, this is live. This is live, apologies. So this is Kolowski in 5th place. He's got Chris McDonald and Adam Chiplin behind him. Then there's a second James Rancone, and that leads a train all the way down to Nick Fodiadis in 15th.
Brian Bullock just went wide at turn 1 there, so he's had to let the whole train go by, because he's probably got to slow down because he went wide. That's devastating for where he was.
He's
lost about half a dozen or plus positions in.
Yep, and this is the thing with battle packs, and one of the things that makes motor racing so interesting. You've got two ways of measuring how good you're doing: your position and your overall time. And sometimes you can afford to lose overall time. You don't lose any positions, and then other times it just really punishes you when you've got pack racing like this.
So Jake tried to just jink a little bit just to put Chiplin off from that move, and he's put himself off and gone deep and just get handed the spot to Chiplin. So now that's a good spot. Now he's going to try a big dive come back here, because Jake's not one of those people who likes to get past. He likes to get back by again.
Adam Chiplin really respectful there as well. You saw him going nice and wide, leaving Jake plenty of room. No need to risk a incident by trying to force him to hook the inside apex. Instead, goes around the outside and manages to make the position his own. But like you said, Kolowski's not going to let that sit for too long, and that's Kurt Robinson just testing the grip levels on the gravel because he goes out there later on. We've got Dave, but that is a beautiful pull scheme. Oh, that's great as well with the is that a snake on the side?
Parramatta Eels.
Pardon?
Parramatta Eels logo.
Ah. Yeah, that's exhausted my rugby league knowledge. We now go to Joe Baldwin, who's in the middle of this pack in 10th, getting a little unsettled on the curve there, but manages to hold it in that stealthy black livery. He's in a very dangerous position, isn't he? It's not where I would want to be in the middle of this pack, particularly if you've got cars like Brian Bullock, who we saw going on, have got pace and think they should be towards the front of this pack, or even trying to break free from it. It's only at the back, and there's a side-by-side for the lead. Perry Anastakis and William Yarwood. Perry Anastakis has now taken the lead from William Yarwood to see how it was done.
That's ambitious by Barry.
There was a car's width, not much else there, was it? But the way that corner is cambered, it just help you stick to the inside, so he's using the profile of the corner to help him make the overtake. Absolutely brilliant from Parry, and now let's see what pace he's got out front. And then in a few laps time, we'll see if they're doing this pace using an equal amount of fuel. A very interesting thing will be, can Daniel Piper get himself past William Yarwood, or can William Yarwood fight back? Like I said before, when a car sticks close behind, usually means they've got a little bit of extra pace. It could be extra pace just because they've got slipstream, but can often mean he got a little bit of extra pace. And we saw Daniel Piper come up to the back of these two. He's watched them. He saw Parry get ahead, and he'll probably be thinking, if Parry's got more pace, I do not want to let him get away with a live battle on William Yarwood. So he's going to try and get past as quick as possible. At least that's why I suspect anything. And as Chris McDonald falls behind, Benjamin Lavender drops down to 5th place.
So it looks like, whether it's deliberate or not, looks like Kozlowski here is doing his best Magnussen impersonation, because Chiplin started to pull away, and these guys are all wanting to get past.
Yeah, he certainly is. For those of you not familiar with that reference, Kevin Magnussen put up a blinding defence in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to earn his teammate a sole point by basically giving him a pit window for him to pit in to and still come out in, I think it was 11th place at the time, which then later on became 10th, as we watched Joe Baldwin under attack from Andrew Neil on the outside, Joe Baldwin on the inside. Baldwin gets the better line, more traditional line for the corner, and that's Benet is going for a spin. Don't think there was any contact there. I think he's just lit up the rears when he exited the corner in that Ferrari. So let's see what's happened here. So he's on an outside line.
Yeah, he's just handled it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's, you saw there's that nice thick black rubbered in line right on the racing line. He was a little bit wide of that. I wonder if it's he's just not on that racing line, had a little bit less grip, and that's been one of the contributing factors to that spin. As you watch Andrew Neil going off in sympathy with Joe Baldwin, who went wide for that corner onto the gravel. So often you do that, you get fixated on the car ahead, and you end up making the same mistake as them. One of the tricks when you're behind another car, you've got to watch them with your peripherals. If you just lock your eyes into the back of the car, you will follow them when they make a mistake, and that's not what you want to do. When they make a mistake is when you need to capitalise. So really important that you don't target lock on them. Otherwise, things like that can happen, but it's so hard to fight as a racing driver. You just naturally do. Oh, I thought they were both ending up in the barrier there, as you probably heard. Joe Baldwin not caring at all that Andrew Neil was looking up the inside, cutting across the massively. Andrew Neil ended up out of the throttle. And that's a big, big lunge from Francone, and that sent Baldwin into a spin. And let's see what happened there. Dive from really late, taps the back of Baldwin, upsets another car behind him. I'd be surprised if that was a deliberate move and Franco just missed his braking point. I wouldn't be surprised if we heard that was the case, because it looked a bit too far back to be genuine. But this way, it was genuine. It was very, very ambitious, and I just don't think we'd see James Franco doing that. So I suspect he's just mucked up, lost his braking point in the melee, and realised, oh crap, and tried to put on the brakes, and unfortunately Joe Baldwin coming a cropper there. So he's currently in 13th. Franco's dropped all the way to 25th, so I think Franco certainly coming off worse than that collision and perhaps chucking in the towel. What this has done is it's given Olewski a lot of breathing room.
I think Franco's just stuck.
Yeah, trying to find a safe spot on, has to wait for cars to come through. Yeah. Because Baldwin was facing pretty much the right direction, wasn't he? So he's probably able to just smash the accelerator and keep going. Now watching Yarwood defending from Piper. And do so successfully so far. This is the battle for second and third on the racetrack. What we don't know is how much fuel they're using. We'll start the first indicators of that in the next few laps, I will imagine. We're expecting this to be a 2-stop race for most of the drivers. Wouldn't rule out anyone trying to make it on a 1-stop, or a few drivers needing 3 stops if they picked up damage, had to pit early, pit out of sequence, etc. etc. Current running order is Perry Anastakis in the lead. He got that position done on winning order and has been able to use his extra pace and drop William Yarwood. Daniel Piper unable to get past at the moment, but you suspect if he could, he might be able to have a go at chasing down Perry Anastakis. Chris McDonald is in 4th place. He's 3 seconds behind Yarwood and Piper and not lapping at the same pace of those guys ahead of him currently. A solid difference in lap times. Behind him is Benjamin Lavender, 1.6 seconds behind. Then Adam Chiplin within half a second of Benjamin Lavender, so that's a little battle pack. They've then got 3.6 seconds back to Jake Karlovsky. So that's pretty comfortable, and this really separates the top 6 from the rest of the pack. Karlovsky, he's been doing a magazine impression, as Adam mentioned, for much of the race, and that gap now out to 4 seconds. But behind him there's a huge train. Neil, 30 Allison Bullock. Then a 6-second gap to Bobby Comeau. Behind him, Baldwin, Ibert, Normanson, McGrath, all in a train. So that's the people that we're in that battle pack from 6th all the way down to 14th. But I've had some sort of instance and lost a bit of time. Not a huge amount of time like Francone, but sort of 4, 5, 6 seconds. And just ended up outside of that battle for the high ratings of the top 10. Top 10 looking pretty locked in at the moment. But as you see, there's been plenty of incidents in the first 15 minutes. We've got another 3 lots of 15 minutes to go, so expect a lot more incidents before the end of this race as Adam Chiplin and Benjamin Lavender do battle. And on your screen, we watch Adam Neal trying to defend from Nick Fodiadis and Brian Bullock. I agree, and I think the R in Lovely is required. That's the accurate way to say Lovely when the racing is this good. We'll also watch Adam Neal losing the position there to Nick Fodiadis. Nick Fodiadis having a strong race in the top 10, up 10 spots. Second only to Chris McDonald and Robert McGrath in terms of spots gained in this race. And had a good race in the supercars beforehand as well. So he'll be very happy with the night's racing as it's gone so far, if he's able to keep this up another 41 minutes and 36 seconds. You're wondering how long is left in this race. It's in the top left of your screen. Although not right now, because we're in a replay. As we watch Lachlan Thomas, what's happening here in a red Ferrari. And gets hit by the other red Ferrari, but only because he was already having his own accident, and he just got helped on a little bit there. So not much time to react. Don't think the second Ferrari on the scene will face any disciplinary action for that. The first Ferrari just having his own accident in front of him, as we watch Adam Chiplin trying to defend from Benjamin Lavender, whose car is not lavender, it is red. Missed opportunity there. But it's red and the car head is black, so at least we can tell who is who, even in this dense fog. Interesting that both races have been in the fog tonight. A bit of a propensity for fog in Europe at this time of the year, apparently. I suppose it is their spring over there.
Well, it is what the server has a 22% chance of rain, so who knows? We could get some. It's one of the things like I can. Like, it's not ideal. I can bring up the iRacing radar, but that means I've got to bring up the iRacing interface, which never looks good on the broadcast. But at the moment, iRacing hasn't allowed the third-party guys access to the radar because apparently there's some of the possible problems that could cause. So yeah, for now, the radar is a little bit off for the broadcasts. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if these guys have rain coming or not. 22% is pretty low, but with 100% humidity in the air and plenty of cloud cover around, it could come. We could get a sprinkle here and there. Still got 40 minutes, so plenty of time for something to happen.
We do have 40 minutes, and I'm in the server, so I'm just having a bit cheeky look at the forecast. I don't think we're going to see any rain from the forecast I am seeing, but who knows how accurate our actual forecasts are. Or I don't even know if I'll get the information because I'm only in as a spectator. So I don't know whether I'll get that information because it seems suspiciously lacking in information. Interestingly,
the video that iRacing put out about the tempest, that forecast where it shows you that sort of list of times and percentages of chances of rain, right? That isn't accurate. It is a forecast. So you can't just treat that as a gospel because that's just like a forecast. So it could come sooner, it could come later.
Oh, they really did think of anything. I know I said this earlier, but I really did bow down to the Boffins at
Nick.
iRacing because they've done an absolutely brilliant job. And yeah, that's not what we want to see. Brian Bullock going around there. Really good job from everyone to miss him as Brian Bullock reverses on. And he'll be able to return safely from there. Can you give us a breakdown of that incident? I was too busy looking at the forecast.
So Nick goes a bit deep here. Gets on the grass, puts him a bit wide. And there's just a little pinch point there on the exit.
Oh, I do not want to be the stewards looking at that one. I'm going to not make a call on that, but Nick Filialis definitely going in deep there, making a mistake, coming back on the track. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I agree, that was hard to watch. Did not enjoy that at all. This, however, I am enjoying. William Yarwood versus Daniel Piper. Piper currently with the fastest lap of the race on 1:39.1. And almost an inch between Yarwood and Piper's lap times at the moment. As we watch Perry Starkis and William Yarwood going side by side. And I just realised that my forecast is completely wrong because I'm in the pro split. Oh. Well, this is what happens if you don't...
Before you quit, give us an update on the positions.
I just quit, but I will rejoin so I can give you an update.
No. If you're already on the way, it's all good.
No. I only just clicked off. I'm still in the session, just not with it up on my screen. So I'll bring you that in a minute or two. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you decide you're going to take a break from commentary for a season, and then you come back in and you're out of practice. This is Philip Butler, so he's just gone for a spin. A few cars spinning there. That seems to be the danger point in terms of getting it wrong by yourself. That hairpin just catching lots of people out.
See, I think what it is, these cars do have traction control, but they probably got to set pretty low to get the throttle out, and if they've still got steering lock on when they hit the gas, even with traction control, it's still going to get that little bit of over-rotation.
And you can... I find when I race the GT3s, I really struggle to know where the limit is until I've done a bunch of laps without the traction control on, because I find it just gives me a full sense of confidence, and I do wonder if we've seen a bit of that with some of the other... some other drivers here tonight. As we see the leaders dive into the pit lanes, Perry Starkis and William Yarwood both.
Oh, Yarwood's jumped him.
He certainly has. That indicates that either William Yarwood Was doing
So,
more
no,
saving, or it's going to be a shorter stint.
No, what it is Parry's taken all 4 tyres, 21-second stop, and Yao would have just taken the 2 tyres with a full tank of fuel, which is a slightly cheaper stop.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, I would expect to see Parry and Starkus take no tyres the next stop.
Well, he's got no more to take. They only have 1 set of tyres to use per race, but William could put the other side tyres on if he chooses to the next stop.
Or he could choose not to, try and maintain track position and just deal.
Exactly, it's his choice.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So Parry will want to try and get back past William Yarwood to try and take that strategic weapon away from William, because if they're very, very close, you imagine William will not take the tyres and force Parry to get past him on track. If he thinks he can nurse those 2 tyres to the end. So we watch Michael Ladder going deep. Definitely the grip level, I really do suspect the grip level at that corner has changed throughout tonight, whether it's the wind changing or just the conditions changing. I don't know, but there's too many cars spinning, getting it wrong on the brakes there for that to be nothing. Even though this is the AM split. So just to bring you an update from the Pro Split, we did, if you were eagle-eyed, you would have seen the chat indicating that it was Shepherd and Denji as the top 2 in that race. And they're just going through their pit stops now in the Pro Split. So I'll just quickly read you out the current standings. So it is Manny Dench 1.7 ahead of Dylan Shepherd, ahead of Aaron Cooper and Sam Muir, then Stan Allen, Merritt, Sproul, Jackson, Edwards, Baz, Christensen even, Baker, Hooper, Sharp, Wood, Gallagher, O'Loughlin, Khan, Heaney, Jennings, Benici, Feng Wang, Reston, and Michael Hammond. So Manny Dench, Dylan Shepherd in a very tight race in the Pro Split.
So interestingly, we do have a short stopper. Piper has only taken an 11-second stop. He's done a short stop here. He's going to do a long stop on the next stop. But he's gone for track position here and going to try and run.
Yeah, going to be really interesting. We did see him bottled up behind Yarwood for much of the first stint. So it's not a bad play if he has reason to believe he does have more pace than the cars ahead. It's certainly worth a shot, and we're only going to know once we get a good amount of lap times on the board and we can see what his long run pace is genuinely like.
Alright, so our first round of stops is cleansed, and there's our new order for now.
Yeah, so let's just quickly run through it. So we've got Piper ahead of Yarwood and Starkus. Then it's Chris McDonald, up 11, second biggest mover in the field so far. He's got a second from Lavender, he's got a second from Chiplin. Then it's Jake Karlovsky, 5 seconds behind in 7th. Then we've got Andrew Neal and Freddie Ardis looking to be in that battle for 7th, but they're safe from Baldwin so far, who's in 10th. Who's got Kimo and Nominson trying to nom past him. Doesn't really work, I'll take that back. Warren Abet is in 13th. He's got Rob McGrath behind him, then Benet, then Hugo. Then Matt Smitke trying to recover from the spin. Butler, Paget, Hennessy, Johnson. Frank Cohn all the way down 20 seconds after he had contact with Baldwin. And then Tristan Coach and Brian Bullock at the back with Thomas, Ladder and Campbell all out of the race. How do you see the live timings for the Pro Split? The question. Don't have iRacing? I'm not sure. Adam, just interrupt me and come in when you can. Yeah. Don't know if we've got anyone in there with SDK active. I don't have SDK, so I wouldn't know how to set that up for you. Something we'll look at for the next time we're running. Yeah, something we'll look at for the future. We've got William Yarwood in 2nd place currently. He's trying to defend from Paranostakis. We saw him playing a strategy game, only taking 2 tyres. Paranostakis taking all 4. And Paranostakis now right up to the back of William Yarwood and trying to get past. He wants to get past because he's nervous about the pace from Daniel Piper out front. Last Daniel Piper 1:39.4, William Yarwood is a 39.5, and for Perry Aristarchus it was a 39 dead. So Aristarchus seems like he's probably got more pace than the two cars ahead of him, but it's crucial to get past Yarwood, and that's exactly what he has just done, diving up the inside into the sharp hairpin. And now he's put himself in position for side by side, but he will have the inside line for the next hairpin, I believe. But saying that, it's just too much extra ground to go around the outside of that corner, and William Yarwood gets back ahead. Aristarchus tucked in behind, looked to perhaps go around the outside, and then dives to the inside. William Yarwood going for the cutback, but Aristarchus has got the move done and will hold onto it. Got plenty of traction on the exit to hold Yarwood despite the up and under, which generally you get on the front a little bit earlier than your competitor. Now he's in clean air. It's absolutely essential that he first of all keeps Yarwood behind and then gets chasing down Piper, because Piper now has a 5.5 second lead. He did take a short stop, so we expect he's going to need to take tyres at the next stop. Otherwise he's going to be going to the end on the same set of tyres, or yeah, it would have been tyres. I think he would have taken fuel. As we look at Adam Chiplin, he's got Benjamin Lavender within a second behind him. So this is a battle that's been going on for a few laps now. Lavender not able to get the move done so far, but we'll have to wait to find out whether that changes as we go past the halfway mark of this race.
That is one Larry helmet design.
It's certainly...
Oh, actually, no, it's not. Hang on. Okay, it didn't show up on the broadcast. On my screen, as. Ignore that.
I always find the helmet designs funny because so many people race tin tops and you can barely get a chance to see the helmets, but so many of them have got so much detail on them. It just shows how much people love making their personality known through their choice of livery, their choice of helmet. It's just a one way to express yourself and give yourself a personality from within the car. This, the battle for 11th place, Bobby Camo ahead of Normanson, and he is behind Joe Baldwin, so it's Baldwin at the head of this queue. He's got that coveted final position in the top 10, so he's not going to give that up without a fight, particularly as I mentioned, he's a little bit hot under the collar to that contact with James Roncone that he couldn't really do anything about, and it really stopped him from having any opportunity of getting higher up in the top 10 without showing a bit more pace than he's got at the moment. But at the moment, looks to be very, very vulnerable to cars behind. Camo first there, he's in that brightly coated Skechers BMW.
I will say, like, the one good thing with this, with a little bit of, as annoying as the fog is with the broadcast, it is showing the little patch up that the iRacing did to fix the lights up for when it does rain. So you can see the lights are shining through the fog now nice and brightly. That was one of the things they sort of half missed when they introduced the Tempest thing, was in the spray you couldn't see the tail lights. So they've improved the way the lights cut through mist and cloud and rain. So as you can see, the lights are nice and bright, so we can still see where the cars are at even when the fog gets a bit thick.
Yeah, it's funny the things you can miss with something like that, because of course before the system came active.
I don't think it was as much as anything they missed. I think it was just a very technical challenge to get it to communicate properly between the elements in the programming. Yeah,
so either maybe not something they missed, but something they deliberately left as something that they could sort out later, just to get Tempest system out in a sort of 95% state.
It's going to be interesting on Thursday to see if the taillights and the 992s actually work now.
The night, of course, being the Porsche Cup at the GSRC.
Yeah, the Porsche Cup. Ever since that car's come out, the brake lights have been almost non-existent. They're like a little tiny firefly. So hopefully that's been fixed.
Hopefully. I'm really looking forward to seeing the next batch of cars that they activate Tempest for and get on the wet. Because it'll be, I think some cars that'll just be absolutely brilliant on there, and I think the Porsche Cups in particular will be fantastic in the wet because they're hard enough to handle dry. So I think in the wet they're going to be it's going to lead to some very interesting racing, I believe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the likes of you know, your Matty Denches, your Ben Faulkners, your Greg Favels, your John Merritts, starting their stuff in the wet, and just how big a gap there is from those guys to the guys behind, or whether they get pegged back a bit. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who shines in the wet and who struggles comparatively to their dry pace. As we watch Harry Anastakis, he's put the foot down. He's now 4 seconds behind Daniel Piper. Was 5.5, and on his last lap, he did a 1:39 dead. He's been doing 1:39 dead since he came out of the pits, pretty much. And that's half a second quicker than anybody else in this race. So he's absolutely killing it right now in a league of his own, and he's desperate to turn that league of his own into a win. Of course, what we don't know, has he got extra pace than Daniel Piper? Is Daniel Piper saving fuel? We know Daniel Piper took a short stop in stop 1. If you take a short stop in stop 2, he's still in this, very much so, particularly if he's in the lead of the race. But Harry Anastakis is doing everything he can to try and bubble his opposition. As we watch Matt Smitke make another position, getting past Alfredo Juego. So he's down 12 spots now as Matt Smitke from his starting position of 4, and just recovering from that earlier spin. Must say, I do appreciate when the drivers in the GSRC have a colour scheme that they stick to pretty strictly throughout all of the cars they race. Matt Smitke always running in that bright blue and yellow, so makes his cars nice and distinctive. Side Hustle Boys always racing in their distinctive black, pink, pinkish purple and blue livery. You know, you got Joe Baldwin always in the black. A few drivers that make my life a lot easier. This is Kurt Nominson, one of the names I'm less familiar with in the GSRC, but having a solid race so far. He's up 5 spots from 16th to 11th, and is really turning the screws on Joe Baldwin to try and get into the top 10 and make this a night to remember for himself and any friends or family that may be watching the broadcast. Of course, this broadcast is brought to you by Waste Options. They've been a long time supporter of the GSRC and the GT3 Championship in particular, so thank you Waste Options for your support, and I encourage anyone with waste to get in contact with Waste Options to see if they can help you out. We continue to watch. Now that fog really is heavy, isn't it? I'll be interested, because this isn't heavy fog according to server. This is like medium fog, isn't it? So I'll be interested to see just how heavy it gets. Could make for some interesting racing. Kurt Nominson, you can see him there. He's right behind John Baldwin. He's pulling to the inside. Think, oh, can I go? Not able to go there. Just too fast to corner. Not enough of a braking zone to get an effective overlap. Kurt Nominson then going deep there because he's too busy trying to figure out how he's going to get around Baldwin and not. It just leads to you getting distracted and missing your braking mark, and then you miss your apex.
Oh,
Trying to carry more speed through there. Boys, you can see in the car behaviour the agitation in the fact that he is behind Baldwin. I think the best thing Kurt Nominson can do now is just trust that he's got the pace, and trust that if he sticks close behind Baldwin, he'll get his opportunity as Baldwin dives into the pits, becoming the first driver to take the second stop. So we must be, yeah, he's doing
critical lap.
equal stints.
That's critical lap.
It certainly is. So he will be able to get to the end now with 22 minutes remaining, almost splitting his stints evenly into 20-minute stints.
Ah, Bobby.
French driver's doing that as Bobby Camo just gets it wrong and spins around to the inside. Just goes to show, like you said earlier, traction control doesn't do it all for you. You still need to drive the car properly. Interestingly, go ahead.
Well, the other thing I forgot to mention that. So the traction control helps you, but then once the problem is with these cars, is once they do go, the other thing that like not only can you not really use the throttle to control the slide because of the traction control cuts in on you, but also these cars have a very small steering rack. So they have a very limited amount of actual rotation with the angle of the front wheels actually turn. So they just can't turn the wheels far enough to catch a slide once you get too much angle on your drift.
Yeah, and they're a car that doesn't reward you abusing tyres like that as well. So if you are getting just a little bit, a bit too much slippage on your rear tyres, then they will go up a temperature and it will slow you down. I just don't like that sort of oversteer style of driving. Is that a fair comment?
Oh yeah. They're not too bad as long as you keep it in check. But also the tyre model, if you get the rears overheated, it just sort of snowballs into a worse and worse situation.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've noticed. I don't have cars where you can kind of just get away with abusing the rear tyres a bit more, and if you do abuse them a bit too much, you can kind of bring them back in. The GT3s, it's hard to do that. I definitely encourage you to drive it a little bit safer, drive it slightly more understeer in the car, and just keep those tyre temperatures chill and make sure you're not sliding, because like I said, if you get it wrong once and you can't really say that, like in other cars where you can kind of just walk the car out wide and keep pointing vaguely in the right direction, as Kurt Normanson dives against himself after seeing Baldwin do that. Baldwin with only 11-second stops, so Baldwin was one of the drivers that took all 4 tyres at the first stop, then only fuel in the second. And that kind of confirms what we suspect from Daniel Piper, but perhaps he probably only took fuel and no tyres in his first stops. It'll be interesting to see how the battle up front progresses once they do their final stops, particularly because Daniel Piper has responded to Harry Alstakis' pace, bringing his pace down into the low 39s. I saw 39.0 2 laps ago, 39.2 last lap, whilst Harry Alstakis' times have, on the last lap, just got back to 39.4s, and Daniel Piper now with a 38.8, bringing those lap times down even further. It is a proper ding-dong battle now at the front of the race for Pippa and Astakis, with Yarwood just being dropped now to 7 seconds behind Astakis, and we saw Panera Astakis take all 4 tyres last last pit, whereas Yarwood would took 2, so I suspect Yarwood's pit will be longer than Astakis', and what we do not know is how long Piper's pit will be, as we're watching Hennessy trying to defend from Joe Baldwin. So Hennessy's in 16th, he's only pitted once. Baldwin has pitted twice, and this is absolutely ruining Baldwin's race plans, because he wanted to ideally come out in a bit of free air, has instead came out behind Adam Hennessy and is struggling to get past, and he's definitely got more pace than Hennessy, so he really needs to get past and make these laps count, because otherwise he could get jumped in the pit lane by some of his newest competitors, and he'll be very thankful for that, although I was very close to going in the back, and he might have cost Baldwin a position.
He had to lift there because he didn't realise he was pitting and had to check up at the last minute then, so that could have been worse, but at least he's still going.
Sunday could have been worse, and I think Baldwin will be happy to put a little bit of a gap between himself and Frank Cohn, given the contact earlier on. Probably not the car I want to see behind him.
Yeah, although that wasn't ideal, he is still currently the leader of the 2 stoppers, so the plan is still working at this point, but we'll have to wait and see when the cars around him to do their stops.
Yes, absolutely. Will that last once it's tested in anger, and we see without a shadow of a doubt what the true order is? So we'll have to wait and see. So we see Chris McDonald in this fake wood car.
I was going to say, as we were saying, like you were saying, how the fogs get thick. It looks a lot thicker from the trackside cameras, as you can see from the onboards. It's not too bad for the drivers. So it's only sort of when you get those long angled camera lenses, which looking through a lot of the fog, it sort of emphasises a little bit. And the last thing we can do is get a blimp, because blimp's absolutely useless to us, so that's doing nothing for us, so we won't even use that. And just continue with trackside cameras and the onboards.
I love that. I love that it impacts the cameras and what cameras are useful because of the fog. Absolutely brilliant to have this extra added realism to iRacing. Just come under a bit of stick for its graphics. It is over a decade old. The engine that this game runs on, so it's not at the cutting edge of graphics, but it's top of the line in terms of realism and the car's behaviour. Certainly I find watching the cars on track, the actual cars themselves and how they behave, seems much more accurate than many other sims, and they've just added to that realness with the one-of-a-kind Tempest system, which I'm really excited to see how that develops over the next season or 2. And thoroughly enjoyed first time driving in the reins in the GR86s 2 weeks ago. Very, very, very fun driving in the wet.
As we can see, Piper has dropped the hammer, and over the last 5 laps, he has really pulled the gap on Paz.
He has, and he is now pitted. So we'll see how long this pit stop is. This will tell us a lot about who's going to come out at the lead of this race. And as we watch Adam Johnson, it's going to do here, goes wide, it hits the curb, car doesn't like it, boom.
I think the
That's
car.
good. Unhealthy Mercedes.
Yeah, the car didn't like the second part more.
Yes. The bit where it actually made contact with the wall. So Piper with a short stop, 13.8, makes me suspect that he didn't take any tyres again, and he's running the same set to the end.
Yeah, you don't need to take tyres. If you're good in your tyres, you can do the race without taking tyres.
So that keeps him in the running with Perry Aristarchus, who we know took 4 tyres some out, so we expect to see Perry Aristarchus take no tyres this time. So even if he does that, I expect to see his pit stop only be maybe a couple of seconds faster than Daniel Piper's.
It would definitely be faster than Piper's, but because Piper did an 11-second stop in the first one, so his total's only 24. So and Paz did a 19. So if Paz does anything more than 5 seconds in his stop, Piper's made time on him through the pit space. But then the question is, has Piper put enough fuel in?
Yes, and then the other question is, so Piper had a 5.5 second lead before he pitted. So any time below 13.85 seconds is time that Perry's going to eat into that 5.5 seconds. Of course, you've also got the difference in lap times between what Perry is doing now and what Piper is able to do, which could, a second overweight into that. So it could be very close on pit exit, depending on how exactly the stop goes. And I think this race looks very different depending on who takes the lead once Barry completes his stop. I'm watching Nick Fodiadis now. He's chasing down Andrew Neil. Neither of these cars taking the second pit stop. Neil has now. Just as I say that, turns me into a liar. And we watch Nick Fodiadis back in the top 10. He's in 7th place currently. Only one car ahead of him has two stopped. Joe Baldwin behind him has 2 stopped. We called him out earlier as the first of the 2 stoppers. Andrew Neil is in the pit, so we'll see where he comes out in relation to Joe Baldwin. As we watch Francone dicing with Alfredo Huego. Huego ahead of Francone. Currently Francone trying to come back through after early contact. Took him out of the running for the top 10 positions.
Ooh. Now James needs to be careful because this is one of those. There's that little green divider where the for the pit lane there, and if you touch that, it's an unsafe pit entry. So you got to be careful when you pit entry to not make a late decision and cross that white line and touch the green paint. You cut it very close then.
Yeah, so either he's done it perfectly or he's mucked his race up even more than the earlier contact. As we're watching Coach, I assume this will be some sort of incident. Just going.
I know he's just letting Nick through.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So that's not his battle. So Nick now in 7th place still. This is Chris McDonald. He's in 4th. He's got Benjamin Lavender right behind him in the red car. Now, Paris starts into pit lane. Let's see how long the stop is. William Yarwood follows him in. As Adam Chiplin, Chris McDonald, a bunch of the other cars. So they're the cars that ran through their full tank for the first stint, ran through their full tank for the second stint, I would imagine. Nice, quick pit stop there from... No, not that quick. 12.67 seconds, and Daniel Piper's going to have a clear advantage.
So that's just basically the same time as Piper's second stop, basically. So that means that somehow Piper's taken 7 seconds less fuel over the course of the race. That seems a bit odd.
Well, there was the tyres as well in the first stop.
Oh,
Harry?
Yeah, but if he took tyres, he would have taken a full tank of fuel. There's no way you wouldn't have short. You definitely wouldn't have short fueled if you took all 4 tyres.
Yes, no, I agree. So there's the tyres are a difference, and then Daniel Piper's just using a lot less fuel and going at the same pace. And that explains why he was able to drop the hammer down, right?
And
so he was fuel saving, and then suddenly wanted the time instead.
And we get Ben Lavender, got the number 1 next to his name for a lap. Bit of a, so you can just screenshot this lap and show his friends.
That's certainly what I would do. When I regale my sim racing exploits to my friends, there's only a passing resemblance to what actually happened. No, that's a lie. I usually pull myself out. But hopefully Lavender is able to show this to his friends and show them, hey, I led a race. I don't think he's going to be leading at the end. He's got to do another stop, but it's impressive that he's become one of the longest runners. Him and Nick Filiadis and Matt Smitke, the only cars not to have done the second stop that I've played the full races so far.
So Paz was wide there. He was on the drag strip, and that's not off track. He's wide again. So Paz is really pushing here.
Probably because he's seen Daniel Piper ahead of him and knows that if he wants to win this race, he's got to go catch him. And perhaps wasn't expecting it.
What would be interesting if we did get rain here? It would have been interesting to see how, like, with all the little surfaces and stuff they've been playing with the rain, if that drag strip is as slippery as it is in the real world when it puts water on it, because that thing just turns into an ice rink.
Yeah, you see cars touch it and then they're in the wall. I remember that. That was in the COVID season for Formula 1. Hockenhiem in a podium position, getting on the drag strip and ending up in the wall. To no one's surprise, given his track record of being unable to get podiums. As we watch Nick Filiadis, he's in 4th place, but Parastak isn't really in his battle, so I'd be surprised if he lodges a move. He'll sit behind him and take the free fuel, I imagine, from the slipstream, as we've only got just under 10 minutes of this race to go, so very much in the final phase of this race. Final 6th. Almost everybody has completed the final stop. Be very surprised if anyone is trying to one-stop this, given Nick Filiadis and Matt Smitke are the only 2 runners left. They both stopped on lap 15, we're now on lap 30,
and Lavender.
To go. And Lavender, of course. Apologies, Lavender being out in this race. On screen.
Yeah, all 3 of them pitted on lap 15. Lavender's in now, which makes sense. He's pitted on lap 15. He's happening on lap 30, so 15 first in.
Yeah, and then for the second, and there's Filiadis, and would not be surprised to see Smitke come in as well. There's McGrath going for a spin. Nikita on the side of his car. Nikita, of course, make power tools, including drills, which spin very quick. So you're just doing an impression of one of those Nikita products. As you watch Philip and Butler, he has got Bobby Kimoy behind him, 0.6 seconds between the 2 of them, so this is a very close battle for 15th place. No fuel games going on here. Both of them have done their last stop, and both of them should have plenty of fuel to get to the end. But coach just not quite fast enough to make a move on Butler. Kimo, apologies, just not fast enough to make a move close enough to make a move on Butler at the moment. Mitke was the last driver to take his pit stop, and he comes out in 14th place, continuing his recovery from that early spin. Frank Cohn is right behind Fuego. We saw the beginnings of this battle a little early on in the race, and this battle has continued now that they've both done their final stops. You can see the body language of Frank Cohn using more of the track, pulling out, trying to imagine how he can get past Fuego. Getting a good run out there. He's going to be able to pick his side for the hairpin side. He's going to go take the inside, and Fuego not finding it too hard. He's on the outside. We'll see if they're under. No, breaks later than Frank Cohn. Tries to go around the outside, but there's just not the grip off the racing line. Isn't able to
Frank Cohn let it up.
So not able to get the momentum, but then Frank Cohn opens the door by putting on too much throttle, perhaps a little bit nervous about where Fuego is, and thinking that he might have made it stick around the outside. Gets too greedy on the throttle, sends his car towards the wall, manages to stop it, but loses a heap of time, and Fuego gets back past. That's going to be a very frustrated Frank Cohn in that car. Was looking really strong, ended up making contact with Baldwin through a mistake of his own, puts him right to the back. He's trying to recover. He's just got past Fuego, thinking, right, I've got 10 seconds of clean air to drive into, and then all of a sudden Fuego is back past him. And this is now Andrew Neil. He is right behind Nick Filiadis, and Andrew Neil running the traditional Aussie colours of the yellow and green. I assume that's not the former soccer route. There was a soccer route called Andrew Neil, wasn't there? I'm not imagining that.
That's not my not one of my sports.
Doesn't have wheels.
I just ever since I was 8 years old, soccer has not been my sport, because I was the goalie on the best team and very, very bored.
I was the goalie on the worst team, and I got lots of accolades. So we had very different experiences as goalies. But sadly, I don't know if you had this experience, but I found the goals kept getting taller and I didn't, and that really hampered my ability to be an effective keeper. So my tall friend got the gig instead.
No, I'm not. I was only when I was 7-8, so basically everyone's just running around in a clump.
Yeah. Yep. I remember those scenes. I did it until I was like 13, 14. Decided I was too short as a goalie and not very good in the outfield. So I went and played rugby instead. Rugby union, that is, as a short guy. Also not the smartest idea. Wasn't very good at it, but there you go. Now we've got Jake. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I finally got around to getting Joe's black livery for the Ferrari done. And we've nicknamed it the Batmobile because the stealth look of it. It's got a very Batmobile look to it. And so Jake the Joker Kozlowski has Batman chasing him.
He does. And I'd be running like a scolded rabbit if I had Batman chasing him. It is a nice livery. It is a nice livery. I'll really put a lot of livery. I always do wonder about the smartness of running a black livery though, because I want my car to be as visible as possible, because if I don't on the inside I want people to see it. I do wonder if in a black car you get slightly more instance because you're harder to see. Be interested to know if it makes a difference a lot.
Well, you can ask Joe when he gets into the room later.
Yeah, do you find cars constantly turning?
Because he was running the blue livery up until tonight, so you see, ask him if there's any difference.
And he did get hit earlier on, so there is some evidence to back this up. So we'll have to go ask him. Whilst he puts pressure on Karlskin to turn his 10th into a 9th place and potentially into a 8th because the two of them are chasing down each other. Only a second between the three of them.
A four-way battle for 13th back here in the outside the top 10 here.
There certainly is, and that battle including Gebert, Smitke, and Butler and Kmo. Smitke, you'd suspect, is probably the fastest driver out of the four of them on race pace here tonight, given he's recovering from a stick. So I'm interested to see if he can get past Warren Ibbott in the last 3.5 minutes of this race. As we watch Kmo go, Butler go wide, manages to keep his position ahead of Kmo though. Just out front, Pariana Stark is not able to do anything about that gap to Daniel Piper. We saw him absolutely thrashing the car earlier on, going wide, and just not able to find the pace to get past Piper. Lost a second on the last lap, 4 seconds behind. I imagine he'll be calling in the towel on that.
I think Joe's made a mistake. He's lost a bunch of time and he had a spin at turn 1, but not quite enough to trigger an event for me, so I can't show it.
He has lost about 4 seconds at some point to Jake Kulowski. Jake Kulowski also lost time to Chris McDonald, so I wonder if the two of them tripped over each other a little bit. As we watch Matt Smitke trying to polish off his recovery and get up to 13th, which is unlucky for some, but not for Matt Smitke. If he can get past, I think they'll be quite happy with that recovery. Obviously not happy with the race as a whole, but we said to him, hey, at the end of this lap you're going to be basically last and this far off, and when you get back to 13th, would you be happy? I think he'd take that. I think he'd take it. All about getting 13th. He's lost a bit of time to worry about, and he's actually got Butler starting to breathe down his neck, so he needs to be careful, because if he does launch a move on Ibert and doesn't make it stick, he could see him actually lose position and fall down to 15th instead. As we watch Bobby Kimo. So Bobby Kimo just getting his braking all wrong, almost powering into the back of Smitke, managing to avoid him but goes way deep, loses a heap of time, and that's really going to hurt him because there's just no time to make that up. At a stage of race, Nick Fadiadis, we saw him earlier on the fringe of the top 10. He's now in 6th place, 12 spots.
I think
brilliant.
I think he's going to be very happy with this. I think this will be one of his better GT3 races. I think GT3 is not one of his specialties. GT4 is more his wheelhouse.
Yes,
so they're on the verges of a top 5 here. You can literally see top 5th place right in front of him. I'm sure he'll be happy with this performance. Up 12 spots. Basically doing his version of Woodsy, getting the most positions again.
Yeah, I mean, any race where you go from 18th to 6th is a very, very good race. And, you know, this isn't someone that qualified out of... You wouldn't necessarily say it's someone that qualified out of position. Probably out of position a little bit because he's shown really good pace. But like I said, he's not traditionally a top 5 sort of GT3 driver in the split, so he's had an absolute blinder. But he's just kept it clean, hasn't he? We've barely seen him, and when we have seen him, he's just been driving his laps. As we watch Phil Butler go for a spin and then get helped around by Koch. And nothing Koch can do about that.
White flag.
Final lap of the race with 16 seconds left on the clock, and we cut over to Daniel Piper, who's in the lead, 2.4 seconds ahead of Paranastakis. So that gap did come down by a second on the last lap, and that's David Benet is going for a spin right at the end. Gets back on track, does so just about safely, but loses a few positions. That's promoted Joe Baldwin back into the top 10.
What's he down there? Is he just taking too much inside curve? Oh, no, he's lost the rear on the entry.
Yeah. There's the grass, and he has to wait for cars to come past. Just all kind of misery as we watch Daniel Piper. Approaching the hairpin towards the end of the lap, and I imagine we'll be watching him across the line from here. Daniel Piper's drove a brilliant race. Out for Parry Anastakis on strategy, out for William Yarwood on pure pace, and is going to take a brilliant victory. 2 seconds ahead of Daniel Piper, coming from third for much of the race. Absolutely fantastic. Daniel Piper, take a bow. You have won round 9 of the GT3 Championship Amateur Split. Parry Anastakis comes around across the line in second place. William Yarwood fought hard in the opening stages, tried to keep Parry Anastakis and Daniel Piper, but just didn't have the pace to keep them behind and also run the same strategy. Finishes a distant 10 seconds behind in third place. Then Adam Chiplin in fourth. Lavender finishes in fifth. Nick Ferdianis, a brilliant race, up 12 spots into 6th position. Deep inside of the top 10. Absolutely brilliant. Andrew Neal, 0.8 of a second behind him. He's up 6 positions, finishing 7th. Then it's Chris McDonald. He is going to be up 7 positions, finishing in 8th. All 3 of those drivers, Ferdianis, Neal and McDonald, having brilliant races to get into the top 10. They'll all be very happy. Jake Karlovsky for a rear goal after qualifying really well, had cars behind him all race, keeps it clean, comes home in 9th. Joe Baldwin recovers from contact with James Francone to finish in 10th. Kurt Normanson finishes in 11th, up 5 positions, and then Matt Smitke down 8 positions, but fighting back tooth and nail from early contact to finish in 12th spot. Behind him, Ron Ibert doesn't have enough fuel and pits on the last lap. David Bernays went for a late spin, so he's in 14th. Philip Butler in 15th. James Francone in 16th. Bobby Como in 17th. And Brian Bullock in 18th. And wasting no time to come talk about his brilliant race is Nick Ferdiadis. Nick, up 12 spots in the GT3s after a strong performance in the Super 2. You've got to be pretty happy this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. The Bailey Ladders Audi was actually quite nimble and fast around here tonight, so I was actually very pleased with that one.
Well, you absolutely should be. Adam was just informing that, you know, you're generally not quite a top 5 guy in the GT3 amateur class, and this is a really good result for you. You didn't do it, you know, the traditional qualify 6th, finish 6th. You started in 18th, all the way down in the weeds, and managed to finish in the nosebleed positions.
Well, yeah, last week, as a good example, I was starting at like 11th, but I forgot to put fuel in it, so I had to burn from the stern, finished 14th, and then I should have finished 4th at the end of the second race last week, but I was a litre short, so I had to chug to the line at 8th. But this one, I got a 6th position out of that. I was hoping to get a top 5, but I just didn't have enough of Mr. Lavender there at the end.
Yeah, it was a really tight fight between the two of you at the end there, and just not enough to go chasing down. But you also had Andrew Neal chasing down your neck. Did that get you a bit nervous towards the end?
Oh, not really. I was keeping an eye on everybody around me. But as long as I jumped Andrew at the stops, I was very happy. I do have to apologise to Brian Bullock because I overran the hairpin, and then trying to get the crisscross and come back on, so to speak. I took him out, so I do apologise to him. I'm probably going to get a penalty for that, but other than that, I mean, I had a great cracking race, especially with Andrew Neil there, all the way through.
Yeah, we saw that incident at the hairpin with you going deep and then coming back on and making door-to-door contact. It seemed like a really hard one to read. Were you aware of his position, or did you just not?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Just didn't see
I
him.
was only concerned with the guys in front, and I just wanted to do a crisscross, and I went too deep, so I had to cut back. So it's my fault.
Yeah, really hard to judge those kind of rejoins. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what race control make of that.
Yes. Other than that, it was a great night. I'm sweating my butt off, but an hour racing the GT3s is always good.
Yeah, it is always good. How was the fog out there? Did it impact you at all?
Like, you know it, but you can still got about 200 to 500 meters down the road. You can still see, so it's not that bad.
Are you more or less keen to race in heavier fog?
Oh, of course. It's gonna be like that. Might as well have it get to the dew point and start raining. But there was a couple of people who said, "Oh, it didn't rain in this server." So we'll see what happens with the weather forecast for next week. But other than that, I thought it was quite good.
So you're backing rain as something you want to see for the final round?
What is the final round? What track?
The final round is Spa.
Oh, our damn Forest. What do you expect? It's probably going to be raining at Stavlo and dry at the pits. So who knows?
That would be absolutely brilliant. I'll sign up for that right now. Right now.
Well, I mean, in covering that off, I put a whole heap of downforce on the car, just so I was fast through the fast bits, and then just got good runs off the corner. I guess I didn't have the top end, but in a tow, yeah, I was saving heaps of fuel behind people through that race. So when it came to if it was going to get to dicey weather, I would have had enough downforce on. I just have to put the tyre pressures up on the tyres when I change them over. But alas, it didn't come.
It didn't? You were one of the longest runners in the end, going to lap 30, most stopping between lap 25 and 28. Was that a deliberate decision, or were you just decided to run a tank dry every time?
Run it dry, but the first stint, I was in a conga line of about 15 cars. So I was like, bugger this, I'm not going to... we're all within sight, and we're all within about 5 seconds of each other, so I'm just going to save fuel back here because I've got a whole heap of wing on. The car's only really fast when it was by itself. If it was if it was being towed by somebody else, they could get up close to me. So I was just going to save fuel, and that put my first stop, I think, a lap or two later than everybody else. And then second stint, I was following, I believe, Andrew and Jake. And so I decided to save more fuel, and that put me another 3 laps beyond them, and had a good stop on that second stop.
Yeah, you did. Excellent. So what were you aiming going into the race? I assume 6th is beyond what you're aiming for?
I was trying to get a top 10 qualifying, but that, alas, didn't happen. So what I'm finding is a bit like my illustrious teammate Paul Wood, you just got to let the race come to you. Not really push too hard, especially these longer ones, because you've got to be at the end. And there was a lot of cars going off the road, left, right, and centre, especially at the start. And you can see here on the screen here, I'm just in this long conga line of cars, so it's going to be a massive wind tunnel style effect that I just hang out and save fuel, and yeah, you can see all the cars all the way around the next corner. So no rush to get to the front. The top 5 could pit though at the second stop and come out in front of me, but I mean, when you're back this far, you have to make do with what you got.
Yeah, I mean, just the split at the end of the first lap from 18th to 1st, you're losing basically second position, right? So you're out of it by the end of the first lap almost.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you got to make the most of it. Like I said, I had a good fight with Andrew Neil, and we'll line up and do it again at the Ardennes.
We certainly will, and I will. Well, I won't be there. Hopefully, we'll have Zach back on the broadcast. But best of luck for the final round of the championship.
Thank you. You have a great night.
You too. And we'll cross over now to Kurt Nommensen. Started in 16th position, finished in 11th. Strong race for you.
Yeah, it was a good race. Definitely made a few mistakes that need to correct, but had a lot of fun. Good racing with Joe for a lot of the race there.
It was very, very tight between the two of you. Did you think you were going to get the best of him at any point? What led to that 4-second gap in the end?
A lot of it come down to I took tires in the second stop and just lost a lot of time.
We'll do it. That will certainly do it. So you didn't take tires in the first stop, just at the second?
Just at the second stop, yeah. Yeah, so I lost a lot of time there.
Yeah, there was a real split between drivers that took it in the first, drivers that took it in the second, and drivers that did 2 in each, or drivers that didn't take any tires at all. I think we saw it all in this race. So, yeah, interesting to see that hurt you a little bit. I'm not quite sure what the best play actually was. I think it might have been no tires if you can make him last, but not sure everybody can do that like Daniel Piper did out front.
I think I could have. I've done a fair bit of endurance racing, so I have a feel for trying to keep the tires alive, but I definitely think if I didn't take the tires, I could have kept up with him.
Yeah, anything you would do in hindsight to just to try and get into the top 10? Obviously, we spoke about tires, but anything else you could have done to just get us a few extra seconds to get into the top 10?
I think a lot of it was just I wasn't braking as hard into the corners, trying to flow the car more. So I was definitely losing a lot of time on the entry of corners. I could definitely see them pulling away. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, the tires survived longer. That way I got to the second stop without having to take tires and really wasn't losing time over Joe, who took 2 tires in the first stop.
yeah. So maybe it is just the maybe not taking that tires in the second stop and seeing if you could get them to the end.
Yeah,
Given that seems to be your driving style
definitely
anyway, to, like I said, brake a bit earlier, brake a bit smoother, and not be as aggressive into the corners. Maybe that's how we cash in on that for next time and get you a top 10.
Yeah, definitely something to work on.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for joining us in the booth. Really nice to hear from you, particularly as a new voice to me. Hopefully we'll cross paths again in the future.
I'm sure we will.
Absolutely. We'll cross over now to William Yarwood, who finished in 3rd spot. Was leading the race in the opening laps under a lot of pressure from Perry Anastakis in particular, with Daniel Piper in 3rd at that stage. Then eventually Perry Anastakis made his way past, Daniel Piper made his way past in the first round pit stops, and you just weren't quite able to keep up. Is that a fair summary of your race?
Yeah, it's sort of. I was quite surprised how fast I actually was, but once the racing came along, I just couldn't get the hairpins sorted, and I don't know, I just kept overshooting the braking markers or just not being able to get it to turn. So as soon as I started braking a bit earlier to make it turn, they just had the run on me on the straights, and then I don't know how I quite got jumped at the pit stop so bad. So, but yeah, it was good. Still pretty happy with it all.
Do you take tyres at the first stop?
Yeah, I just took 2 lefts. So
Yeah. Daniel Piper didn't take any. So
Yeah.
that's how he jumped you.
yeah, it was dropped off the jacks again before I'd finished adding fuel, but so, and then when I come out, I was like 4 seconds or something. So I'm not sure how I lost so much on the entry road or the exit. Maybe, I don't know. I know I did have trouble seeing my booth because when I come in, Parry come in same time when we were in the 2 stalls next to each other, so I didn't know where the stopping line was. So there's probably a second or 2 in that as well.
Yeah. So you said you just really struggled with the hairpin. Did you have these troubles in when you were practicing or in qualifying, or did it really only just appear in the race?
Nah, it's something I've just struggled at all times with this car. I seem to get medium speed, high speed really good with it, but I don't know. I just think my technique's probably just wrong with the hairpins. But I started getting it better as the session went on with the trail braking and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just I tend to stop it too much or stop. I must be too hard on the brake and make it understeer. I think it's more of a me problem than the. But as the race went on, I sort of worked it out a bit better. So following the other guys once they got past me, so that was quite handy. But yeah, it was pretty fun. We had a good little butt dice, and I don't even think we touched. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd say that move from Parry was absolutely fantastic. I know you're the victim in that, but it was an absolutely brilliant move.
I don't know how he got under there. I thought I had
Yeah.
that covered, eh? And then once I started turning in, I'm like, shit, he's there, and yeah. Anyway, so I had to open up and let him through. So, and then I was
Yeah.
going to dive him on the next corner, and I thought, the other guys were catching us, so I thought we'll just try and play it steady for a couple of laps, but then he just pulled away from me. So I was like, "Oh, that didn't work."
Oh, I'm just holding on to the back of him now. Saves him for, you know what? This is fine. If anything, this is a good thing. No, wait, no, he's driving away. Oh no.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I had this plan. I was just going to follow him, cool my tyres down, have a go, and I couldn't keep up.
Yeah. What you're saying about the slow speed corners, definitely could very well be the case. I've definitely found I'm similar. I tend to struggle more on the slow speed, and different cars I think require different techniques to get them faster around the slow speed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've certainly noticed there's certain cars where the slow speed I just am nowhere near what I should be doing, and then other cars not too bad. So you might be similar to me, particularly when you mentioned the sort of braking too hard, perhaps a bit too late, and probably carrying too low a minimum apex speed.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I've tended to do historically. So sounds like similar.
I
there.
definitely think it's a technique. I just don't get enough time in the sim. Like today is the first time I've been in it in nearly 3-4 weeks. So because I've been away for a couple of weeks, so with work, and so yeah, now it's sort of. I was quite surprised actually with this track Yeah. Well, actually, no, I went pretty good here last season. So yeah, I suppose. But that was in amateur, not pro-am. So yeah, I guess we've gone better.
Yeah, no, I think you'll be very, very proud with securing a podium. It did, first open laps, you're in the lead. Probably thinking our third's a little bit disappointing, but I think overall, like you said, not been in the sim for 3 or 4 weeks. Paranistakis and Daniel Pye were both very quick guys. No shame in losing out to them. I think you do have a fantastic race and a very comfortable and well-deserved third place. You should be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm actually stoked. I've never. Since coming out of amateurs, I haven't. Well, now it's combined, but since coming out of that, I haven't had a podium or anything. So that was my first pole and first podium. So I guess I shouldn't be disappointed at all.
Yeah, no, drove very, very well, and fingers crossed you'll drive very, very well again in the final round of the championship at Spa next week.
We'll give it a crack. I don't mind that track, so we'll see. But again, there's a tight hairpin which I suffer with, so we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed we'll see you on the podium there as well.
Yep, too easy.
All right, we'll pop across now to Jake Kolowski. Jake, there was a comment made in the broadcast that you were doing your best Kevin Magnussen impression earlier on in the race. How was it from the cockpit? A bit hot under the collar?
Yeah, mate, it was quite sweaty. I was having some awesome battle there with Joe at the end. I'm really upset how it ended for Joe. But yeah, no, definitely quite a hard race. I've been practicing Sebring all week, so literally just hopped in tonight and was like, it's been ages since I've driven this track.
How did it end with Joe? Because we didn't see that on the broadcast. We just saw that Joe lost a few seconds.
Oh, he just touched me on my rear and unfortunately spun him out. And one of those iRacing woes. Yeah, not much you can really do there.
Was that on the exit of the corner?
Yeah, it was on I think the first corner, the real high speed one. Just yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one there, Jake. I think just we had different strengths back and forwards, and I had a good run on you, and you moved right. When you came back to cover, I think you just slowed up a bit more at the apex because of your shallow entry. You just caught me out a little bit. That was all.
Yeah. No, apologies, mate.
That's all good. No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things that happen when you've got guys of. I think it's almost harder when you're a similar pace. When you're faster and you're coming for slower guys, you kind of know. So you kind of know. Right, I know I'm faster. I know I need to give them some space. Take it a little bit easy, and then I'll get an opportunity, and I won't have to work that hard for it because I'm faster. When you're a similar pace, but you're strong in different areas, that's when it gets really hard because find like some corners you're just like, I can't understand how this guy can be so quick and be so crap here. And then you go for another corner, you're like, I don't know how they did that. So it's
100%. And I think it was harder for me at the end there because I went for the no tyres strategy.
Oh yeah.
So I think I was on like 30% or something at the end there on the front left, and I'm just like trying to hang on to it. And I'm seeing Joe catch me a second a lap, and I'm like, no. So yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say, Joe? Which tyres did you do? The front two?
No, I took on the first pit stop. I took the right two, and I took the left two on the second pit stop. So, being a predominantly right-hand corner track, I knew that once we got a lot of rubber down on the track over the course of like an hour with, what do we have, 20-something cars, 27 cars? Yeah, an hour of cars putting rubber down. You'd want fresh left-hand rubber and it'll get you good pace at the end. So I took the right tyres on the original pit stop and left tyres on the second one, and yeah, it worked out really well. It had the pace, just a little bit unlucky there.
Yeah.
Unlucky twice. I got turned earlier on in the race, so
You did. I'll come to
but
you.
that's all right. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I'll come to you. I'll come to you next. I know Daniel will play us next in the queue, but we're already hearing from you, so I'll come to you next, Joe. Just to wrap things up with Jake. Brilliant race, brilliant defensive driving for a lot of it. Like I said, you managed to keep Joe behind you towards the end. Touch was unfortunate. That's kind of when it happens when you're racing. It's happened.
Cheers, mate.
So you're down to, but still, even with that brilliant performance, brilliant defensive drive, you were ahead of a train of like 8 cars at one point, and so managed to keep it clean while everyone else had contact behind you, basically. Still down 2 spots from where you qualified. So how did you qualify in 7th? Was that where you were aiming and you just didn't have the race pace, or did you just like massively out qualify yourself and then
Yeah.
a bit of a and,
So yeah, what happened there was I got really lucky. I think it might have been I was behind. I think Benjamin Lavender. But I was able to get a tow in the qualifying. So realistically, I was probably like half a second or something faster than what I'd normally be without that tow. So I was able to just sit there and I was like, oh, okay, so decent qualifying. But yeah, as always, I try to drive defensively, obviously without being too aggressive. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with where I got. But as Will was saying earlier, I used to race in the old days when AM was just its own thing, so it was a lot more easier. Whereas now there's way more competitive guys here, so it's a lot more harder. Yeah.
Well, you and I have had a good battle on this track before. Last
We
season was GT2.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Back in 2020.
Those images, yeah.
Yeah. The good old days, mate.
Yep. That's why it surprised me this week.
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for that, Liam.
Anytime. Thanks for joining us in the booth, Jake. I'll really talk to you again sometime soon. And it's a good number you chose there, 992. That's my birth year. We'll go over now to Joe Baldwin, who we just heard from a little bit. We touched on the main subject I want to talk to you about, actually, which was that contact with Frank Cohn. How did you read that?
I think he probably got distracted by the car that was directly to his left in the braking zone, because at the point of me getting anywhere near the braking area for that corner, he was still half a second behind. Like, there was half a second to any car behind, and I turned in, just never expected anyone to be there, and just got sent like just got sent. Didn't even know where it come from or whatever, but once I spun around, I seen James sitting there, and I kind of figured that it might have been James, but I had Nick Foley asked my teammate in the other Bailey ladder car. He actually seen it and said it was Jake. Said that it was James. So yeah, but he's apologised in the Discord. But it's unfortunate. It probably ruined what would have been close to maybe a top 5 or 6. It certainly cost me positions by the end of the race. But it just shows too how important qualifying is and how bad I am at it. Yeah, I've qualified 19th in this one. I think I qualified mid-pack in the V8s and drove up at the start and then had my own little mistake. But qualifying's a bit of a bugbear for me at the moment. Has been for a couple of seasons. Probably all part of getting old and stuff, right? I'm on the north side of 50 now, so that's probably not really helping matters. But the race pace is still there once we get going. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's racing.
Yeah, it's not the side of 50 you want to be. You definitely want to be closer to my parents' age than my age.
Hey, I made it though.
always unfortunate. But still, Joe, very, very fast. Regardless of age, so we won't even throw your age into consideration now. And I'm sure the qualifying could also just be a bit of the yips, right? You start struggling in something, it becomes a bit of a mental battle, and that can be
Yeah.
a blocker as much as actual skill. Even if you don't think it is, it can be.
Yep. I like even in the V8s, I went and did a bunch of practice over the weekend because I wanted to, now that I've been moved up to the elite with the V8s, I've actually been putting a bit of effort in to try and improve my qualifying and my driving and stuff. And I've done probably 50 laps over the last 2 days to trying to get good, and it worked great for probably the first 3 or 4 laps, and then I threw out everything that I'd practiced and tried to rush things, which you can't do with the V8. You know, you rush, you throttle up, those things, they just blow the tyres off. These cars aren't quite like that, but with these, you've got to keep them under you. Once they start to slide, they're very difficult to get back under control and keep the tyres. You've got to keep the tyres cool. It's one of the great features of iRacing, but yeah, it's just a matter of doing laps, and yeah, I'll continue to do it. GT3's been a new thing for me this year, so I'm enjoying the challenge. It's been great, especially picking up the first win last week. So it's that's definitely showing improvement, I suppose.
Oh yeah, 100%. Definitely showing improvement. To get a win in your first season in the cars is good. Maybe the amateur split, but we've still got some really quick people in here. It's just
the
strength of the pro split is actually quite insane. As a particularly as a series that doesn't, we don't promote GSRC as a real competitive series. Not one of those series that we're trying to get the very fastest guys in. It's the everyman series that everyone can come into, but the quality of field and the pro split, you wouldn't think that was the case. You think it was one of the proper real competitive series.
Oh, look, you got in the pro series, we're absolutely blessed to have, guys like, Dench, Merritt and Mitchum, Jared Knight, all these guys, they're 5K plus I rating, and they're in racing with I can't really say a little club anymore. We're quite a healthy sized club, but these guys choose to come in and race, and the level of competition over the last, I think we're up nearly 4 years, it's just been insane. It's been a great ride to go on and watch the improvement in the club, and overall our GT3 numbers probably aren't as strong as they were during COVID times, but the level of competition has lifted. It's even with the 2 splits now, you've probably taken some of the pro guys back and some of the AM guys up and made a good split with the AM. It's certainly a very competitive field, whether you're in pro or in the AM. So a good result here, you're doing something right.
Certainly, you did a lot right tonight. 2 very strong results in the supercars and in the GT3s. So I think you can sleep well tonight, Joe.
Oh, I absolutely will. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for joining us in the booth again. That was Joe Baldwin, our club president. And now we'll move over to the race victor for tonight. Daniel Piper drove a brilliant strategic race, taking much less pit time than Parry Aristarchus and showing equivalent pace to get the position from Parry and hold on to it to the end of the race after running in third for the opening stint. Just talk us through that race from your perspective. If you're there, Daniel, we cannot hear you.
It is too. Hang over, bind from another league. Yes, hello. You got me now?
Yes, I got you.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep the button held down. Yeah, I thought I'd do it right today, and then sort of after qualifying, I was very, very quick out there. So, at the start of the race, I just Parry way he was hassling William. I just thought, well, it's going to be a race between myself and William. I thought Parry'd run away with it. He was very, very rapid. So, very happy to sort of consistently keep the time on the laps there and get the win.
Yeah, you did a really good job. Can you just talk us through your strategy? Am I right in thinking you didn't take any tyres in the end?
No, I did. I probably should have done what Joe did. So, I've sort of worked out that you can't get 42 litres in and 4 tyres. So I thought I'd split it for 2 and 2. So I took 2 rears, and then at the end I took 2 fronts for the second stop, which that was a extremely scary first lap on cold fronts with the rears warm. So yeah, probably should have done what Joe did in the end, but held it together and it worked out.
Yeah, I'm imagining that wasn't. I didn't feel great during it, but now you know, and you know not to do it again. So lessons learned. So evidently you were able to just save more fuel than Parry in the stints. Is that how you managed to keep your pit time slower than his?
Yeah, I've got this sick fascination with saving fuel and taking tyres all the time in hour or longer races, and just, yeah, again, the way Parry was just so rapid at the start, so I just sort of discounted any chance of getting him and just thought, well, I'll sit behind William and save a bit of fuel, and hopefully I can do 2 shorter stops and jump him, because our pace was so similar at the start, so I thought if I end up behind him again after the pit stops, I probably would have done something pretty stupid to try and get around him, so managed to avoid having to do that.
Yeah, I think you judged it to absolute perfection. We were wondering in the booth who was going to come ahead in the second stops, because your first stop was so short. We weren't sure what was going to happen, how they would compare on lap 2, on stop 2, because we knew that Parry had taken all 4 tyres in the first stop, but we didn't catch what you did. Yeah, I'd say it made it very tense for us, where there's only 5 seconds between you and you're running on different strategies. And then see you come out ahead, and you probably didn't see, but Parry was really pushing, trying to catch you, and just made a few mistakes. Would have been interesting had he been able to, but your pace was just too strong in the end, so I think you judged it to absolute perfection.
Yeah, I was a bit of a hawk on the relative to him, and I could see he was catching me, and then I was starting to really push, and then there was a couple of laps where I'd sort of got it back out to 4 seconds again, so I backed off a little bit as well, so he took the pressure off a bit doing that. That was good.
I can imagine there was a sigh of relief from within the car. Like, okay, cool, I don't have to qualify laps to the end. Excellent.
Yeah, I actually did Porsche Cup officials all week as practice for this, so I think it worked out all right. I lost a heap of SR and IR doing it, but just came in for practice tonight and just got my braking points a bit shorter for the GT3s, and it worked out well.
Excellent. Has Porsche Cup something you race in GSRC as well?
Started 2 weeks ago, and really loving the challenge, but it's just a horrible car to drive when you can't get it right, so just hoping that improves my driving overall.
It's really rewarding when you do hook up with it and you get it right and you're feeling good in that, but it's just so punishing as soon as you make a mistake. It's so easy to loop it, and it's really good car to drive. Like I said, you learn a lot driving it, but it's not the one to drive if you want to have good racing and not have to worry too much about just keeping the thing on the track.
Yeah, I think if you start your iRacing career off in the Porsche Cup, it'll be enough to turn you off the service, I'm sure.
I agree with that. I've given up on racing the Porsche Cup. I tried to race it a bit this season, but I'm just too crashy for it at the moment. I'm going to stick to slower cars and build my way back up. Too much time not in the sim the last year or two. Don't think I can drive it anymore.
I understand.
Yeah, excellent. So is this your first... Sorry, I haven't been watching the previous races, so just stepping in for Zach. Is this your first win for the Porsche Cup Amateurs, or have you won a few races already this season?
I should remember this, shouldn't I? I've been up there a few times. Went well at Mugello. No, I think this should be my first one, or Okayama I might have.
Second one. You won the second race at Mugello.
That's what it was. Yeah, and Tom Williams was hunting me down at the end of that one. Didn't think I was going to hold on.
Yeah, very, very fair. Congratulations on this race win. It's very, very well deserved. I think it was a very accomplished drive and one that looked comfortable in the end, despite the close gaps throughout the entirety of the race. So congratulations. I think you should be very proud of your achievements tonight.
Thank you. I'm sure it was better to watch the first stint before we all pitted, but I was relieved with how it ended.
No comment. Yeah, no, it was a good race all the way through. Like I say, we had that intrigue of what was going to happen in the final pit stop to keep us entertained, and then the intrigue of trying to watch Pariana Starkist chase you down the final stint. It became pretty clear pretty early on that it wasn't going to happen, but yeah, it kept us interested to at least the last sort of 3 or 4 laps. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Plus, it's not your job to keep us entertained; it's your job to win, and you did that with aplomb.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone in the league that makes it happen in the committee and that. It's thank you for putting your time in. It's bloody great racing here.
Yeah, awesome to have you. Awesome to have you, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you.
That ends our driver interviews section of the broadcast. So we'll just wrap things up here. We'll start off by thanking all of the sponsors.
Just before you get that far, with the results from the pro split, just in case some of the guys that were looking.
Let's have a look. So Matty Dench takes a fairly close victory, only 5 seconds over Dylan Shepherd, but a victory it is for Matty Dench, and another title on the way to him. Dylan Shepherd finishes in second spot. Looks like he's pushed Matty Dench pretty close there. Then there's a gap back to John Merritt, 30 seconds behind the lead. Evidently he's driven a strong race. When I saw the standings earlier on, he was back in 5th, so he's managed to climb his way up to 3rd. And yeah, so he'll be pretty happy with that. I imagine Aaron Cooper in 4th place, just off the podium, only a couple of seconds behind John Merritt. Then it's Samuel, and that really forms your lead group of 5. And then there's a fairly healthy gap back to Dane Sadden, Jake Jackson, Trent Allen, Michael Edwards, David Baz, David Christensen, Samuel Sproul all the way down in 12th, which is interesting. I expect to see him a bit higher. So I wonder if there is problems there, particularly given his incident points is up at 12. I imagine there was contact. Fred Kahn in 13th, Jonathan Hooper in 14th, and Stephen Gallacher in 15th. Prize the taking the victory. I assume we're heading over to standings.
Yes, we are.
Excellent.
I just had to make a quick change. I was about to say Jake Jackson got a penalty, which put him back to 9th. Actually, put him back to 10th, because I forgot to carry the one. Yeah, 15-second penalty, put him back to 10th place. So
here we go. These are the standings heading into the final round at Circuit du Spa-Francorchamps. Matty Dench with a healthy lead, 73 points. Congratulations to Matty Dench on yet another GT3 title. John Merritt wraps up 2nd place, 380 points, 61 ahead of Richard Mitchum, 73 behind Matty Dench. I think we can quite safely say John Merritt will finish in 2nd in the GT3 Championship. Bit closer in the battle for the final spot on the podium between Richard Mitchum and Jared Knight. Only 39 points between them, so that will be a live battle going into the final round of the championship. 33 points from him to Ashley Collins, who's just ahead of Jonathan Hooper and Chuck Von Wong, so they will be doing battle next week. You then got Paul Wood in 8th, Thomas Martin in 9th, and David Baz in 10th. And pretty much everyone down to Zach Christie is well and truly in the running for a top 10 spot. So plenty up for grabs in the final round of the Pro GT3 series, and you can watch that live at the same time next week, where we'll have a 90-minute endurance race at Spa to round off the season, and you never know, it might rain. These are the amateur standings, so Daniel Piper takes the lead of the championship away from Scott Wooden, who did not compete here tonight. Only 8 points between the two of them, so that will be decided in the final round next week. Adam Chiplin is in 3rd. Do not rule him out of the title. He's got a bit of a mountain to climb. He's going to have to win the race. He's going to have to hope that something doesn't go right for Piper and Wooden. But this is race cars, and in motor racing, anything can happen. Even William Yarwood is in with an outside shot, where he will be hoping for misfortune for those ahead, even to just get in the top 3. Benjamin Lavender only 1 further point behind. He's well and truly in the hunt for the top 3. I'd say 5 cars there at least in the battle for the top 3 positions, and Philip Butler may be sniping for a 3rd if everything goes his way. Behind them, there was a 28-point gap to Adam Hennessy, Tom Williamson, Chris Mack, and James Francone. Francone in the middle of that battle for the final positions in the top 10. Parana Starkis put himself in a much stronger position after tonight, only 16 points back. And James Kolowski, Joe Baldwin, and David Benays also in that battle. These are the team standings. Manny Dench and Simon Nicholson with a lead over Jared Knight and Ashley Collins for HTS Racing. But PGZ Motorsport, they haven't wrapped this up quite yet. 56 points, the gap between them and HTS Racing. So that's probably the more interesting battle, championship-wise, going into the final round. Can HTS overcome PGZ? They'll need the perfect round, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. And then Jonathan Hooper and Chuck Van Wong doing a brilliant job for Sloth Racing Co., belying their namesake and getting into third place just ahead of Ichuka Toyota Pulse Racing with John Merritt and Tony Baker. That's a very, very strong team, and I'm sure Hooper and Fung Wong will be very, very happy to be ahead of the two of them. So we'll see if they can hold them off. Then you got the two Trichy Foot Racing entries, Scott Wood and Neil Gladden, Richard Mitchum and Nick Wood, the drivers for Trichy Foot Racing 3 and 1. They'll be doing battle for bragging rights within their stable. Then it's Side Hustle Racing and Whiskey Business Racing. They're drawn on 305 points. Aussie Racers 1 and 2, 272 and 270. They round out the top 10 with PCD Racing of William Yarwood and Quantum Motorsports and a few other guys trying to leap into the top 10 at the final round. This production has been brought to you by Waste Options, title sponsors of the GT3 Championship. They're not our only sponsors, we have many sponsors here at the GSRC. They include Sprayton Non-Alcoholic Cider, Player One Sim Gear, who support the supercars that you would have watched earlier tonight, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave Australia, Flash Graphics, and we're back to Waste Options. Up and coming, live at the GSRC, we have got the Up and Comers and GT1 tomorrow night. Up and Comers focused around newer drivers. They'll be racing the F4 at Mugello. GT1 is at Watkins Glen. Then on Wednesday night we have the fantastic racing in the GR86 Challenge and the GT4, and they're at Mugello and Villeneuve respectively. Then on Thursday is our next broadcast, and that will be Formula V's from Zandvoort and Porsche Cup from Spa-Francorchamps. That is going to be a broadcast to watch. Then on Friday night, Wings and Slicks returns with the Super Formula at Phillip Island. Fantastic car and track combination there. Please get out and support that series. We then have Mountain Men on Saturday with the Cadillac at first, of course, and V8 Supercars to be announced location, but that will be an oval race. Then we are back on Monday for the final round of the Super 2 Championship for Phillip Island and the GT3 Pro split from Spa-Francorchamps, and that is an endurance race. 90 minutes, and Zach will be back in the booth to kick off the finals week of GSRC Season 1 2024, and hasn't that flown by quicker than you can blink. If you need to prepare for winter, you can get a GSRC hoodie from the merchandise store, and there's a collection of other goodies including t-shirts, bottle openers and stubby holders. I've got the hoodie myself, and I can tell you it is very warm and very comfortable, so I recommend you get that if you're looking to keep warm as these winter months start to approach. Not long until Anzac Day, and that is the day in Canberra where you get the coats out. Here is the 2024 calendar for the endurance season. Round 1 was at Watkins Glen. We had a couple of issues with the server. Had to sort of restart the race after an hour because other drivers couldn't get in. But we had a successful race in the end with a lot of great racing and good numbers in both the GT3 and the LMDH after we struggled to get numbers for much of the off-season. So it was already good to see strong numbers there. Next race is at Suzuka. That will be absolutely amazing. We've got a few more teams coming in. I'll be on the commentary, I believe, with not sure who will be broadcasting yet, but we'll get a broadcaster going, and I'll be on comms for that. So please do join us for that on the 7th of April. And if you're not involved yet, and you are a GT3 driver listening to this broadcast, just get yourself into the endurance series. It's great fun. It is Sundays, but it is absolutely brilliant. And what better way to spend a Sunday? And that wraps up our broadcast for you tonight. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for watching. If you have stayed right to the very end, I'm William Blanks. Alongside me, putting in a mega shift, has been Adam Lavis, doing co-comps and producing like he often does so much for this club. And I'd like to thank Adam for everything that he does once again. Like I said, we'll be back on Thursday for the Porsche Cup and the Formula V's, Supercars and GT3s. We'll be back next Monday. Until then, see you next time.